Welcome to PENSARE Basketball Live. We're going to be talking about the draft a lot today. We're going to be talking about draft targets. The NBA draft combine is on its way. Teams are finally meeting with these players after years of watching them come up through AAU, watching them progress through college. And there's some people who are doing very well in athletic testing, and there are some people who are making viral clips for doing very poorly in athletic testing. There are some athletes who have come in extremely good shape and are blowing scouts away. And then there are some athletes who are doing nothing good for their stock and may have to go back to school. One player who is not going back to school is a player we've been talking about a lot. That's Carter Bryant. And I suspect very much so that this is a player who has already assured himself a lottery promise. It's the only reason why a player like this even comes out. It's because he knows his stock, his agent knows his stock, and we're going to talk a lot about this archetype, OG Anunoby. Now, I have been speaking this for a year now since OG left, that we have a huge OG sized hole on our team. There's nobody on this team, sans Scotty Barnes, who is capable of doing anything close to what OG did for you on the perimeter. And as we are looking around the playoffs, there's a trend emerging. Jaden McDaniels, that's a big wing defender. Anthony Edwards, really good defender. You look at the OKC Thunder and their bevy of great defenders, from Lou Dort to Alex Caruso to Cason Wallace to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to Jalen Williams. Long wings. Go look at the New York Knicks. What are we doing? Long wings. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart-ish, I guess. Josh Hart is questionable, right? And you're seeing even a team like the Denver Nuggets, who are succeeding miraculously in this series, in a series which, frankly, they shouldn't be succeeding. And they're succeeding at least in part because their defense is being anchored by three long wings: Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, and also Aaron Gordon. Consider the other teams that are doing well. The Indiana Pacers. What do they have? They have Andrew Nembhard. He's a really good point of attack defender. They have Aaron Nesmith. He's a fantastic defender. Granted, this is the one team that doesn't have like the bevy of defensive talent, but are you willing to invest in building the type of offense that Indiana has in order to sustain yourselves? Again, this is something that we saw the Cavaliers go to. They when they were facing elimination, they started going to that all defensive lineup with Isaac Okoro because they just felt that it was their best bet. Now, obviously, Isaac Okoro is a far cry from a solid two-way player. And, you see it with DeAndre Hunter, Isaac Okoro. Even though the Cavs got bounced, they had plenty of defensive versatility. Dean Wade is also a pretty decent defender. So this is the problem with the Raptors. You have a lot of players who are defensive liabilities. Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, although RJ showed some progress in that regard. Jacoby Walter right now, still slight of frame. He's going to get a little bit better, a little bit bigger, so maybe he can solve some problems for you, but he's not OG, right? At 6'4", he's not OG. What does OG solve for you that nobody else on your team right now can really solve for you? Well, it's kind of the same thing that Toumani Camara solves for you. It's kind of the same thing that, big wing defenders like Jaden McDaniels can solve for you, which is positional versatility, off ball, sort of weak side shot blocking, the ability to guard 4 or 5 positions. Again, we all talk about this guarding 1 through 5. How many players can actually do that? How many players can legitimately guard 1 through 5? Well, I mean, there's players who can soft guard 1 through 5, like Scotty Barnes and Bam Adebayo. There are very few players like OG Anunoby who can legitimately guard 1 through 5. No disrespect to anybody else, but there are very few players in the league that can legitimately do that. And some of those players might be available in this draft. Some of them might be available in this draft. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about the players on the graphic, right? So let me show you all the graphic. Obviously, you can see the graphic, but just pull it up as we talk about these players one by one. So I made no secret of the fact that I am clearly highest on the man in the middle, Carter Bryant, and I'll get into why that is. But there are also some other big wings, right? Now, Neek Clifford is probably the smallest, and not probably, he's definitely the smallest of these players. He measured in slightly short of 6'6" with a 6'8" wingspan. He is probably like the most complete player right now among these players. He can do everything. I would consider him a jack of all trades, a master of none. Didn't play the strongest competition with Colorado State. How much do you want to factor that in? He's a 5-year senior. How much do you want to factor that in? I think a lot of that will go into the equation for Neek Clifford. I don't think Nick Clifford is at all in play for the Raptors at number 9. If the Raptors take Nick Clifford at number 9, please know that I will crash out. I will end the stream and I will probably like go punch a wall. It's not going to happen. I don't think. But he's probably the best player among this group in terms of full immediately go into summer league and average 24 points per game. You know what I mean? But does it translate to the NBA level? Do you factor in the lack of competition that he played against? Do you consider what his numbers look like at Colorado before he moved away from the Pac-12? How much of his, yeah, he's been better every single year, kinda, right? The shooting has been spotty. He started out as a really shaky free throw shooter, worked himself up to a 77, 78% free throw shooter. He is 23 years old, Jigsaw Puzzle. So, I mean, this feels very, very wrong. This feels very Chris Duarte. This feels very desperate. It feels very unimaginative. And frankly, it feels very not Raptors. Now, everyone wants to talk about how the Raptors love zero stars and they love, these late risers and they love these rags to riches and underrated prospects. Yeah. They love that player, right? OG Anunoby wasn't that player, but sure, Pascal Siakam was that player. Fred VanVleet was that kind of player. Maybe Norman Powell was a little bit that type of player. Like none of these guys were like super highly recruited out of high school. Okay, I got you. But those were players that we picked later in the draft. The Toronto Raptors are currently building around a consensus 5-star who was a McDonald's All-American in Scotty Barnes. They are also building around 2 former Gatorade National Players of the Year in RJ Barrett and Grady Dick. I got news for you. This team is versatile when it comes to their building strategies. It's not like they looked at their championship roster and said, oh, we didn't have a single lottery pick then. Let's just go and exclusively find players in the deep. No, I mean, you build what you have, and at some point, the players are the players, right? Nobody thinks of Giannis as a non-lottery pick anymore. If you could do that draft over, Giannis goes number 1 20 times out of 20. So I wouldn't think too much about that. I think the Raptors have shown early in the rounds that they're willing to bet on upside. They bet on upside last year with Jacoby Walter. There were older, more experienced, maybe more NBA ready players than Jacoby. They took Jacoby. They bet on upside with Grady. There were older players who were available in that year as well, right? We haven't seen the Raptors prioritize age and NBA readiness with top picks. We've seen them prioritize it with later picks. So last year, you take the 31st overall pick, and yeah, you took a 23-year-old senior in Jonathan Mobo. You take the 45th pick, and yeah, you picked a senior with the 45th pick in Jamal Shed. Again, this is later in the draft. Norman Powell was also an older prospect. So, maybe with that 39th pick, we can start talking about, oh, I want someone who's NBA ready right now, like a Jamison Battle, who was also a five-year senior. But I think with that 9th pick, you can pretty much rule out anyone who's not either a freshman or a sophomore. Like, it's gonna be one of those two. They're not picking a 23-year-old. This is not Rafael LaRusso territory. Like, we're not doing that. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. There ain't no player that's currently projected in the top 15 other than Nick Clifford that I think is even running for the lottery. And if a team does pick Nick Clifford, it's probably going to be a team that is completely stupid. So move on from him. Then you go over to the man directly next to him, which is Rashier Fleming from St. Joe's. All right, we got to talk about Rashier because I'm hearing a lot of the comments. I'm hearing a lot of people, previously, I got to just give myself a little bit of kudos here. I didn't hear anybody talking about Carter Bryant before I brought him up a month ago in the Raptor sphere. Nobody talking about him as a top 10 pick. Nobody talking about him as lottery. Now I see him top 10, pretty much ranked everywhere. You got Samson Folk over at Raptors Republic releasing a video saying he studied every jump shot he took. He loves him for the Raptors. Cool. This is what I wanted. This is all I've ever wanted because I didn't want y'all to get caught off guard like you got caught off guard with Scotty Barnes. If I had Pensare Basketball and I wasn't on Facebook writing random posts back then, I would be telling y'all, and I was on To The Point and all these other podcasts, if Pensare Basketball had existed before Scotty's draft, believe me, there would have been 5 months of preparing you for the Raptors picking Scotty Barnes. Now, I'm not saying the Raptors are definitely going to pick Carter Bryant. We'll go into why they may not and why they may. But Rashier Fleming seems to be a name that has really rose up when the Raptors fell to number 9. I think everyone's looking at him. I think they're looking at the measurables. I think they're looking at a guy with a 7'6" wingspan. I think they're looking at a lot of that stuff. I think they're looking at his three-point shooting progression. I think they're looking at just his size. And Yo, I got to tell you, man, I got some questions about Rashier Fleming. I got a lot of questions about Rashier Fleming. So we're going to talk about that. I just want to mention also, there are a ton of combine interviews that we are going to look at. It's going to be really cool because what you're going to do is you're going to be, I believe, if you watch this entire video through completion, you're going to have a better idea of who these players are because you're going to hear from them. You're going to listen to them. You're going to hear them process information in real time and give real time answers. And I know that all of these combine interviews are scripted to some extent. They all have like an idea of what they want to say, but I think you're going to get a real sense for who these players are. So we're gonna listen to Adu Thero, Jamir Watkins, Carter Bryant. We're gonna listen to a lot of these players. We're gonna listen to like 14 different players, and Thomas Sorber. And I think you're gonna get a little tidbit on who they are because some of these questions are interesting. Who's your GOAT? Okay, like something like that, or you get a feeling of like something about their family, and I think that's going to be really interesting for all of us. And I gotta forewarn you, I haven't listened to all of these, so we're going to listen to them together. We're going to react to them together. So keeping on Rashier Fleming, okay, 3-year player, so he's a junior and has shown a tremendous amount of progression. He's huge, right? He is a physically big dude, man. I got to tell you, I don't think he's a 3. He's not a 3. He's not a 3. There's a lot of people talking about him like he's a 3-4. He ain't a 3-4, bro. Watch him move around the court. Watch his feet. He doesn't have one dribble combination that he can put together. Now, in his draft combine interview, he said, that's one thing people don't know about me, that I can do that. I don't believe you. Sorry, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So I've watched a lot of him. Maybe he'll get a little bit better at it, but at the NBA level, putting the ball on the court, advantage creation, passing, this ain't his skill set. What is his skill set? He's a great roller. He's a good transition player. He's a phenomenal event creator defensively. Think he has a decent jump shot. I'm not trusting those percentages. I got to be honest with you. I don't project this guy as a 40% three-point shooter at the next level. I think he's going to be inconsistent. And you go study the tape on Rashier Fleming. Go tell me when someone close to his size ever contested one of his jump shots. It's tough. Okay. When you go up a level, the thing I want to know is what parts of your game actually translate and what parts of your game don't. And that's going to come down to a lot, man. That's going to come down to a lot of things. It's going to come down to the speed of your release. It's going to come down to the versatility of your jumper, which is to say how many different contexts in which can you actually get a jump shot off. And look, with Rashier, it's a little bit easier to scout. You got 3 years of massive data. He had a much higher usage rate at St. Joe's than Carter did at Arizona. You can study hundreds of jump shots. With Carter, you can't study hundreds of jump shots. You got to go back to the Paul George, AAU, high school tape. And that's the tough thing about what, Tommy Lloyd did with Arizona this year, playing a player over Carter who frankly was worse than Carter. The more Carter played, the better they played. He was the better player. He just sat behind a player who was worse than him because his head coach, for whatever reason, had an irrational commitment to a worse player. I don't know what to tell you. I watched every Arizona game over the last month, and I can tell you with 100% confidence, Carter was at least one of the top 3 players on that team. Why didn't he start? SW saying Penn started the Carter hype, and now I'm a fan of the game. Good scouting, Penn. Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, you may have some questions about Carter. I got questions about Rashier Fleming. What can Rashier be at the next level? I think he can be a hyper productive role player. I think he'll come out of the gate right away and put up some monster box score performances. I think if you're just interested in the box score, Rashier can be a very, very interesting player. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he had a game with 12 rebounds, 15 points, 5 blocks in his rookie season. He is more than capable of doing it. I really see him as a 4-5 at the next level, which I think maybe makes him more of an undersized 5 with a crazy wingspan. His size is really on par with a lot of center prospects we've seen in the past. Physically, right next to Thomas Sorber, they're not that far apart. So again, therein lies the question, right? As a center prospect, now we're talking. Now his shooting is a lethal weapon because teams aren't going to guard him. And he's going to be, now the transition stuff is very special because he's going to be one of the fastest centers in the league on day one. And so it just comes down to that. But at the end of the day, if you're projecting him to be a wing, it's going to be a tough sell. If you're projecting him to come out and guard 3-4 possessions, I'm not sure he can do it. He could do it at that level because of the length and athleticism and the size advantage that he had. But against NBA guards, I imagine him switching out to a Jalen Brunson. He's gonna get destroyed. So I don't know how much of his overall production and value from St. Joe's translates to the NBA level, but I do think there is a hyper productive role player who could maybe be the type of defender that makes a couple all defensive teams. I'm very high on Rashier Fleming, very high. He has a little bit of Naz Reid. The problem is he ain't he doesn't have the handle, and I don't think he has the playmaking. I think his playmaking is probably the biggest hole in his game. I haven't really seen it. I saw him miss open cutters and open shooters all the damn time. I don't see a lot in his tape that suggests that he has upside as a playmaker. If that was not an issue, I think he'd be a top 8 pick. I really do believe that. If he had any sort of self-creation, initiation, playmaking, if let's just say, for instance, I could package in Colin Murray-Boyles' feel into Rashier Fleming's shooting, upside, athleticism, size, etc. Now we're talking about a top 6 pick, bar none. The feel stuff is hard to teach. It's not saying it's impossible to teach. I'm not saying he can't get better, but he is role player 100% right now. Okay. He might be the best type of role player. He might be a positionally versatile role player, but I still think he's a role player. Moving on to a player, Noah Senge is kind of behind Carter. I think this could be a very high upside pick. I also think there are a lot of questions as well. I haven't studied his tape as deeply as I want to, so I'll refrain from offering any conclusions about him. I haven't watched him as deeply as I've watched Carter or Rashier, but I plan to. And it's just a little bit harder to get my hands on his tape, but I will get it. I've talked to a lot of people who have it, so let's just hope the Google Drive links work and I can devote 3-4 hours between all the playoff games we've been watching now that the rounds are starting to end, and Cleveland is home and Golden State has gone home and gone fishing at this point. Now I'll have some more time over this next, week, hopefully, if the Denver and OKC series extends past tonight, even more so, to actually watch Noah Senge tape, because I want to. And I can certainly see that he has progressed tremendously throughout the season, and that's a good sign. With one player, with a young player, what you want to see is growth. What you don't want to see is regression. Rashier Fleming regressed throughout the year. I'm just going to be honest with you. He started a lot better than he finished. It could be a lot of things. It could be schedule. It could be an injury that we didn't know about. But typically with super young players, you try to break their season apart, right, into halves. It's like what we do with rookies at the NBA level. You want to say, okay, you got the first little jump where people didn't know who you were. They gave you a whole bunch of shots. Now they figured you out. Now what? Now you're counters. This is why a lot of people hit the rookie wall around January, February, because teams have figured you out. You can't do what you want to do anymore. They're sitting on your left hand. You can't go right. You're screwed, right? So now you got a laundry list of things you got to do in the off season. So with Rashier, it kind of went the other way. With guys like Noah Senge, with a guy like Nolan Traore, both phenomenally young players, and also with Carter Bryant, it went the other way, which is to say the figuring out went the other way. See, so it's two variables. People are figuring you out, but you are also figuring out basketball as you go, right? So the question is, who's figuring who out better, right? And with Carter, I felt like he figured out the NCAA better than the NCAA figured him out, because there really wasn't a lot they were able to take away in terms of his overall 16% usage. It's not like he jumped to crazy usage, but his shooting got better throughout the year. His overall feel and decision making got better throughout the year. His impact metrics got better throughout the year. His defense sustained throughout the year. So I really like that about Carter. With Noah Senge, it's the same thing. With Noah and Nolan Traore, we're seeing a shooting progression, which is getting better. And this is the exact opposite of what happened last year with Nikola Topic, where it went down. Recency bias suggests that players who peak later in the season prior to the draft year tend to do a little bit better. And there's probably a good reason for that. So you can throw it up to sample size. I think his jump shot is decent. I think his athleticism is freakishly fluid. right? With Noah, I think the athleticism is, especially like open court transition athleticism, is very, very impressive. I think he could be a legit 4-5, going forward. He strikes me as a role player with like a 2 to 3% upside to be something more than a role player, right? Could be interesting. Colin Murray-Boyles. Now, player that I've been notoriously high on since last year. I was on record last year saying if he came out of South Carolina, I was very surprised that he didn't come out, given that I didn't think South Carolina's recruiting class was going to be great, and it wasn't. And he struggled immensely because his team sucked this year, and they didn't win a lot of games, but he did great. And I was sort of surprised that he went back. I heard through the grapevine that there were some personal reasons for that, but honestly, I think he should have come out last year. The fact that he didn't come out last year kind of made a lot of people look sideways at him now because his shooting didn't progress nearly as much as he would have liked. But he did get better. He did get better, and that's a good sign. The shooting is a major question mark. The fit on the Toronto Raptors is a major question mark. In my humble opinion, he is the last player you should be looking at number 9, because as much as I buy his upside as a really good defender, I also don't know where I'm at on him as an athlete right now. His lane agility did not look great. His vertical test was atrocious. He doesn't look bursty, quick, any of that. But hey, man, Jokic wasn't bursty or quick. Draymond wasn't bursty or quick. They were still very, very good and if not great players. So maybe we think too much about Carter and about Colin Murray-Boyles, and maybe some people maybe are overthinking Colin Murray-Boyles a little bit too much. He, like Rashier, projects, in my opinion, as a 4-5. He is a lot smaller than Rashier. He has a lower wingspan than Rashier. He's not the vertical pop athlete that Rashier is. But I think the exact opposite of what I said about Rashier is about Colin Murray-Boyles is true. That Colin has a much higher feel. Much better feel. Like, he has great playmaking chops. He reads the game exceptionally well. His off-ball tendencies are really good. I like him as a screener. I just think that he's not nearly athletic enough to compensate for his lack of size at the next level, and he's going to need to be in peak condition, and I don't think he showed up to the draft in peak condition. So that's kind of tough. The title of this video is Finding Their OG Anunoby Replacement. None of the players I've talked about right now replace OG Anunoby. But one player does, and that's that guy in the middle, number 9, Carter Bryant. Kind of interesting. I don't know if there are any numerology conspiracy theorists out there, but number 9 falling to number 9 is kind of interesting, right? Okay. So the thing with Carter that I think should worry you, let me play out the devil's advocate argument, because I've been basically Carter's hype boy so far, right? I've been like his hype man. I'm like, this guy is going to be great. Carter still projects as a role player. There's a lot of things in his game that are missing at this level if you're thinking star. And I don't care about the 6.6 points. I don't care about that. I don't care about the low usage playmaking possessions. I don't care about that. I watched enough of this guy in high school to know he can play make for others. He is an average passer. He's not an above average passer. He's not an advantage generating passer. He's not Yegor Demon. He's not Kasparas Yakuchonis. He's not Scotty Barnes. Okay, cool. But he's a good passer. He's perfectly fine, right? He's perfectly fine as a passer. We saw plenty of reads where, he saw the game. He saw the opening. He read it on time, threw the ball on target, has confidence, can pass with both hands. He's okay. This is something you can work with. If you're Darko Rajakovic and you're watching the film on Carter Bryant, you're like, yeah, he's not an initiator. I'm not running point with this guy. There's not Penny Hardaway. There's not Grant Hill. But I can work with the level of passing. He's decently connective. He can perfectly fine. I think what worries you is, can he beat his man off the dribble? Can he apply pressure to the paint? When you look through draft history, there are very, very, very few players, if any players, who have ever been successful at the NBA level who pressured the rim less than Carter. In fact, I think his at rim percentage was like 17% in the half court, which is not to say he shot 17% at the rim. It's to say 17% of his possessions ended at the rim. He took a lot of jumpers. He took a lot of pull-up jumpers. So therein lies the question. Is this a situation of fit? Is this a situation of talent? This is something that you have to decipher as a team that is choosing to draft this guy, because maybe those mid-range pull-ups are not going to be as effective at the NBA level when teams know you can't beat them at the rim. This is one of the hardest things. Jabari Smith is struggling with it. Brandon Miller has struggled with it at times. There are plenty of players that simply don't get past their man. They don't know how to beat the advantage. OG Anunoby, ironically, is one of those players. Ironically, also, probably a little bit better at it than Carter at the same stage. So that's the tough part, right? It's like, does he project as a guy who can put the ball on the floor and consistently get past his man? Does he have the twitch? Does he have the first step? Does he have the handle? The answer to all these questions is no. He does not have those things right now. Is it something that with some strength that he can figure out how to get a little bit better at it? Sure. But this is not Cade Cunningham or Dylan Harper. You're not getting a twitchy, no, I'll say twitchy, but you're not getting a creative initiator in Carter. It's just not, that's not his game. But that doesn't wash away every good thing he does. And the good things he does are awesome. He is a phenomenal jump shooter, in my opinion. He's very consistent. His mechanics are awesome. I think they project well. He releases the ball high. He's a great athlete. I really think he's a great athlete. As much as I say his first step is not twitchy and he doesn't get low enough, right? From a trainer perspective, to beat your man, you need to have flexibility. He is upright a lot. This is the same Scotty Barnes problem, right? He's upright a lot. So oftentimes you go left, they go left, you go right, they go right. You can't get down low enough to explode. And that becomes a problem if you're looking to be an advantage generator. But if I'm not looking for you to be an advantage generator, if I'm only looking at you to be a play finisher or an advantage extender, now your ability to do that doesn't really matter. Now I'm more concerned about how quickly you get from point A to point B. I'm more concerned about how you are in transition. And yeah, I'm really concerned about your defense as well, because right now I'm projecting Carter to be a really awesome role player with a little bit of potential to do more than that. The defense is what makes Carter exceptionally special, to the point where I do believe, having watched OG at Indiana as a freshman and having watched Carter now at Arizona, that he is a significantly better defender than OG Anunoby was in his freshman season. What Carter can do defensively is honestly like insane. He can guard 4 positions tomorrow. He will get stronger. He will get smarter. He will learn angles. I think that part of it is very underrated. I said it. It's very rare to find a player who can guard 5 positions. I don't know if he can guard centers, but he might one day be able to guard centers. He has an insanely strong like base. You know what I mean? He feels heavy boned. I don't know if that makes sense, but like just watching him, he feels like a very solid athlete. He's not frail. He's not light, right? He is like muscular. And I think his ability to guard different places on the court, do different things defensively. I've seen him navigate through screens. I've seen him guard in transition. I've seen him cross mesh on bigger players. I've seen him guard in the post. I've seen him guard off the ball, in the gaps. He does it all. And he's exceptionally good at it. He has great hands, great hand-eye coordination, great timing, great motor. Motor has never been a question with Carter Bryant. Sometimes he sort of ebbs and flows in and out of games. Sometimes you wish he was more assertive. That's not a motor issue. His motor revved 100% all the time on defense. That's why he was so good. That's why he had an 8.8 box plus minus, because this guy didn't take plays off. And I think if you're looking at Carter just as who he is, it's very easy to overlook him. And that's why I think a lot of people have overlooked him. You look at the analytics, 6.6. Maybe you watch 2 Arizona games, and they're games that he only played like 15, 16 minutes. He came off the bench, he hit a shot. You're like, who's that? That looks like an NBA player. It looks like an athlete. And you look at the stats, and he's like, oh, 5 points, whatever. He's a few years away. The stuff that you don't notice about Carter is just like who he is as a person, how well he fits into an organization, his understanding, his humility, his circle, all that stuff. And that's the stuff that's going to shine. When you listen to his interview, I think you're going to immediately say, this is the guy. 100% this is the guy. And I don't know if the Raptors are going to agree with me. I don't know if the Raptors are going to agree with you, but I think someone is going to agree, because this guy's going lottery. I will put money on it. I think he's going lottery. I think he has already a commitment that he's going to go lottery. And you know what the crazy thing is right now? When I told people that I really am secretly hoping for Carter at 9, they said, "Come on, man. Carter Bryant at 9. I can't believe we went through all this shit." I would not be surprised if he goes top 7. I'm not even kidding with you. I would not be surprised if he goes a little bit higher. If somebody really starts to buy into this guy, you're going to be surprised, because at draft night, you're going to think the biggest problem is that we're going to draft Carter Bryant, and you're going to watch Carter Bryant go at 7 or 6. And it's largely because, again, it's not about the production. It's about the scalability of what you do. His athleticism translates better to the NBA level than almost anyone other than maybe Cooper Flagg. His defensive toolkit is the rarest and most valuable defensive toolkit. It's what teams play max dollar for. It is very much in line with the Dyson Daniels, Herb Jones, Toumani Camara, etc. package. And teams really like this type of player. And, again, Dyson Daniels may not have star upside, but he went 8th, right? And he hasn't turned into a star, but he was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to say this with a little bit of caution. I can't remember the last time the Raptors drafted a player who had greater defensive upside than Carter Bryant. And I might have to go back. To like Marcus Camby when I talk about just how high I am on this guy, right? Like, Scotty Barnes is a great defender. I think Carter's just a little bit better. And again, I'm basing this on what I saw. He did things that Scotty simply did not do at Florida State. I think Scotty's feet are a little bit heavier. I think Scotty's a lot less fluid. I think Scotty's timing and overall event creation defensively is not as good as Carter's. So the idea here is, why do we even want an OG Anunoby? And ironically, it comes back to Mr. Number 4, Scotty Barnes. I want to lessen Scotty's load defensively, and I want to make him more effective defensively. I think he took a major step forward. Giving him a beast like this defensively, even if this beast only plays 15 to 16 minutes for you, offensively and defensively, there is no wing in this draft who fits Scotty better than him. If you project Scotty to be a shot creator, little caveat there. If you project Scotty as the Toumani Camara, well, then maybe this is a redundancy. But if you, like I, think that Scotty has shot creation and high possession value and can be a pick and roll initiator, then putting a guy who can hit threes, run in transition, and guard the other team's best player on a nightly basis and create consistent turnovers is the cheat code. This is what you need next to a Scotty Barnes, a decent connected playmaker. You don't need to create shots when Scotty's creating shots in the mid post or at the nail or Brandon Ingram, and you just cut back door and you get an alley-oop. Carter is more than capable of doing that role. Now, I say this with, all prospects. What's the star upside of Carter Bryant? I would say there's a 2 to 3% chance that he becomes something much more than a really, really good role player. And just for the record, I think OG Anunoby is a role player. I really do. I think, for all intents and purposes, what is the upside, max upside on Carter Bryant? It's I think he could be a 6, 7-time, 8-time, 9-time All-Star, but a lot of shit has to go right. In terms of this has become a bit of a popular thing, and maybe I'm going to sort of crash myself out by saying this. His exact defensive upside, to me, when watching it, was Scottie Pippen. 100% Scottie Pippen with the Bulls. What I saw him do, his size, his frame, his fluidity, his athleticism, everything screamed Scottie Pippen defensively. Offensively, there's a role you can play, and there's upside for much more. Okay? So I am firm on this. If the Raptors pass on Carter Bryant at number 9, I'm going to feel very uneasy about it, but I'll support it. Obviously, it's because the Raptors thought something more of somebody else. Now, I said replacing OG. None of these players other than Carter Bryant project to be an OG. But what about a poor man's OG? There's some of those in this draft, one of whom actually went to Indiana. Really good shooter, really good defender, just got invited from the G League program. We're going to listen to a lot of those players. One very, very interesting 5-year senior that I think the Raptors could target at 39. He is a wing. I apologize. It's Jamir Watkins. He went to Florida State. He's a really good player. He's currently in the transfer portal with a do not contact tag. I'm curious to see what he had to say. So let's listen to Jamir Watkins, one of, in my opinion, one of the better players in college basketball this past year. Also, this is a big shout out to this channel, Cyro Asio. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Some of these videos are coming from Cyro Asio. He covers the NBA draft and the NBA in general through Hoops Hype. So big shout out to him for recording these.
You need me to hold this?
I mean, if you want, it doesn't matter. I'll pick you up, bro. First off, you were part of Leonard Hamilton's last year. It was swan song, you could say. I know it didn't end the way you guys wanted, but what was it like playing for a legend of a coach like that?
I truly think it was a blessing, just being able to, be coached by somebody that's put a lot of guys in the league, that's helped a lot of guys off the floor as well, as far as like graduating. I think it's a blessing for us.
And how have you grown as a player over the past year?
I think first and foremost, I think my confidence has definitely, built, with the role that Coach Hamilton put me in. I think my confidence has built, a lot. I think off the floor, I gained a lot, especially graduating. That was a big accomplishment for me, being the first in my family to graduate. So I think that was big for me.
Hey, congrats, bro.
Appreciate it.
So for you, what's an underrated or overlooked skill that you think people need to take notice?
I would say around passing. Me just being able to make quick decisions, obviously not being the primary ball handler, but being the secondary. I think I'm a good passer. I can get a lot of guys, involved.
When you're watching film, who are you watching and what are you trying to take from them?
I think I could watch a lot of guys for, with me being like a two-way player. I think I watch a lot of guys offensively and defensively. Defensively, I like to watch like Drew Holiday, the Jaden McDaniels, as far as like defensively. Offensively, I like to watch like Karis LeVert, a lot of 3-and-D role guys.
So you see yourself more of a 2, a 3, or a swing man?
I think both 2 and 3, so swing, definitely.
And if someone asked you, give me a pro comp for yourself, what would it be?
Pro comp, I think what I've been hearing a lot prior to Karis LeVert one. That's probably similar to what I think I got a little bit more on him with the defensive. Defensively, me being a taller, more lengthier.
And this past year at FSU, you were kind of a guy who was like, one of the older guys. Do you think that's going to give you an advantage going into the NBA with all the reps you already have?
Yeah, I think me just being a little bit more mature. I think I'm stepping into like a position where as though I could be a fast plug and play guy, someone that can earn a lot of trust quick because of my age and all the experience that I had before. So I think it's going to be easy for me to be a plug and play on any team.
And what teams have you worked out with?
I haven't worked out with any teams yet.
Do you have any plans?
Yeah, probably after the draft, work out with like Phoenix, the Warriors, a bunch of other teams.
Sweet. Last question, man. Who's your GOAT and why?
Who's my GOAT? My GOAT, basketball-wise, I would say KD. Him just being who he is, 7-foot guards, not too many of those. And he's my favorite player, bro. So
Sweet.
Definitely KD.
So I assume
that's pretty dope.
So Kobe, what are you trying to prove out here now that you've been here at the College?
Just trying to prove myself,
This is Kobe Sanders, another player that I do believe could be a target for the Raptors, maybe in the second round, probably in the second round.
Show myself at a higher level. I think I've shown myself at a low to mid-major, then at a mid-major, and now just trying to show that I compete with the best of them.
That you've seen a lot of competition being at a low and mid-major. Now you're here. Like, what would you say the competition is like? Are you surprised, or do you feel like you belong?
I feel like I belong. I think I've been playing basketball for as long as anybody is in here, and I feel like at every level I've faced challenges, but I feel like I've always overcome them, and I think my basketball IQ helps me play at any level.
What would you say you need to improve on the most?
I think just improving on everything every day. Basketball is an evolving game, and just trying to perfect everything of my game. I think I haven't shown that I could shoot the 3 ball at the level that I want to. So just working on consistency with that, and then getting a little stronger, a little faster, just so defensively I could be an asset guarding 1 through 4.
What would you say is the most underrated thing about you that people don't know?
I would say my IQ. I think my IQ is what makes me most valuable at my size, and be able to handle the ball, and then having a high IQ definitely separates me from a lot of players.
Player IQ. Who would you say are your player comps?
Player comps. That's a tough one. I think like Jalen Williams, OKC. Jade from Santa Clara. So yeah. Just a bigger guard, able to handle it, shoot it. A high IQ basketball player. Play multiple positions.
And you growing up, I'm sure you watch YouTube. You watch players. Like, which kind of players did you watch the most?
Growing up, obviously with my name Kobe, I watched a lot of Kobe. But just watching the sprinkle of everything. I was actually a shorter guard growing up, so I was only 5'8" going into high school. So I liked Marcus Page, Ty Lawson. So I was a UNC fan. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So you had to watch it. Which player do you think you take the most out of for your own game?
Currently, I think I watch a lot of Shea, D-Book, KD, just working in the mid-range, creating space, using angles as bigger guards, and just getting to the spot and being able to raise over anybody.
The last one here. Do you know any NBA players, and like what, if you do, or what piece of advice have they given you that's really kind of helped you get through your journey?
Yeah, so Zaire Williams and Miles Norris, I've talked to both of them, and they just told me be myself. I think they told me enjoy every moment of it. You're going to have your ups and downs, and everybody's past different. So just enjoy every moment of it, be yourself, and everything's going to work out with God.
What were you trying to prove here, regardless playing or not? What do you want to show people?
That I'm a good shooter.
This is Miles Bird.
I don't think numbers really showed, especially later in the year. My efficiency dropped after the second half of the season. To show people that I'm a good shooter, I'm a confident shooter, and I can come out and compete with anybody.
When you're watching film, who are some guys you're watching, and what are you trying to take from them?
I've been watching a lot of like Dyson Daniels, Jalen Williams. He was my host on my Santa Clara official visit, and see him in the league and have a great first 3 years. It's really cool to see. Just guys that are secondary playmakers, defend the ball very well, get a lot of deflections. I think I have opportunity to be like that in the league.
Nice. And if somebody asks you, who's a pro comp you'd give yourself?
I say right now Dyson Daniels. I think I could turn into a secondary playmaker with development, but just a very good defender with that gets a lot of deflections and good activity.
You got to be confident.
No, definitely.
So for you, what's an underrated or overlooked skill? You kind of talked about it, but something that people need to take notice.
My passing ability, honestly. I think I'm a really good playmaker, especially when I just make the simple plays. Today I had 4 assists, 0 turnovers, so glad I was able to display it a little bit. We got another game tomorrow. Hopefully be able to display it the same way.
And last question right here. Who's your GOAT and why?
My GOAT is LeBron James, and because I was born in 2000.
Yeah, that's exactly why he was your GOAT.
Can you pronounce is it Nicholas? Sorry? Pronounce your first name? Nicholas?
Yeah. Call him Neo.
Neo? Yes. Neo, 2025 draft.
So this is the Greek kid that just declared for the draft. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut him off at LeBron, right? But but he ain't lying. That's why LeBron's your GOAT. LeBron's your GOAT because you were born in 2005. That's why. Okay. So Neokalis.
Can you pronounce your first name? Nicholas? Sorry? Can you pronounce your first name?
Nicholas? Yeah. Call him Neo.
Neo?
Yes.
Neo, 2025 draft combine. Just what has this experience been like for you being here in Chicago and the rest of the draft process?
It's great, man. It's great. Just to be here with all these guys, get better. It's very nice to meet great experience for sure to keep for the future.
What there's probably a lot of fans here that maybe aren't as familiar with you as some of the other guys that play in the U.S. Just how would you describe your game and the kind of player and teammate that you are?
I think I'm a tall guy. Definitely my pass is underrated. I can pass the ball very well, find my teammates, make them better. I can play good defense too, especially these last 2 years in the men's team. Did a great job there. I can shoot the ball, so pretty much a little bit of everything. So
You played for a couple different teams. You're signed with Neokalis, played with a couple different teams this year. How were you able to kind of take your game another step this season? Was it Rashier?
yes, first time. For me, it was just a matter of time. And, before 2 years, I was in Cardiza. Didn't get a lot of play time, but this year the coach trusted me. My work showed up, so yeah, it was a very good season for me. I really improved.
What do you want fans here to know about you as you kind of get into this draft process, or maybe teams? What do you want teams to know about you, and maybe how your game can translate from Europe to the NBA?
I think that I have a long way to go more. These last 2 years, like I said, I saw a lot of improvement, but I got a lot of improvement to see. In the next years, for sure. I'm a work ethic. I want to be in the team every day. And like I said before, whatever the team needs me to do, I'll do it. It's just a matter of time for me. So yeah, whatever role it is, I'll do it.
When you're watching film,
It's really hard to judge players who don't speak English as a first language, largely because this is a very uncomfortable situation for anyone who doesn't speak English. And I say this as someone who didn't speak English when I was a kid. It's tough. This is Sion James. You just watched him play for the Duke Blue Devils. He has an interview with the Toronto Raptors tomorrow. He is another, I don't want to say OG, but maybe a smaller OG. Like, he is very burly. He is extremely physical. He is positionally versatile. He can guard 3 positions. Had a really, really tough end to his season. Might go undrafted. Probably won't. Will probably be available at 39. Is this the type of upperclassman that the Raptors want to bet on from an athleticism perspective? Let's find out. So again, Sion James.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I think Memphis is still, but yeah. When you look back on the year you had at Duke, coming from obviously not the same spotlight like that you had at Duke. Now that you're here in this moment, do you feel like you did what you needed, you sought to do when you left Tulane and went on this journey for last year?
100%, and it's kind of cool that as good as things have been, it played out even better than I could have hoped. Because not only did I position my backtrack, not only did we almost win a national championship, I also I'm in the position I am to be now in the NBA. But also had the time of my life. I had a fun time, and as you get older, the game becomes more and more serious. So to take a pause and to have a really fun year playing basketball when you're not sure how long it's awesome, and I'm really thankful for it. So yeah, I definitely did what I was supposed to do, and then more.
You mentioned that team. I mean, obviously a bunch of you guys are going to get drafted from that team, but Cooper's the one who gets a lot of the attention. I'm curious, what was he like to be around for the past year? What's he like that people don't see?
Man, he's the best. Of course, you see, he's a great player, whatever. We all know about that. But he's just such a fun dude to be around. He's a great guy for any team culture just because he loves the people he's around. He has a good attitude every day. He plays the right way. He takes care of himself. He brings a certain joy to just being around him. He's awesome. He's honestly a great dude. Someone that I've really enjoyed being on the team with.
Where are you from?
Sugar Hill, Georgia. Right outside of Atlanta.
Can you ever tell he's from Maine?
I don't know, man. He's such a regular, steady dude. He could be from anywhere.
For you, when you're watching tape, who are you watching when you're trying to take it off?
Try to watch. I'll say I watch a lot of players. More than anything, I'm not just watching one specific guy. I'm watching teams and the way they play. But there are certain guys, I'm watching the playoffs still going on, like Drew Holiday, and watching how he impacts the game on both ends from different spots on the floor. Some of these other wings that are playing too, just watching the way that they continue to make impacts everywhere.
And if someone asked you what's the pro comp you give yourself,
that's probably the closest one. I don't think it's a perfect one-to-one comparison, but that's probably the closest one.
Good comp to have.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And you're a guy who's unique. You can play multiple positions. You have a solid frame to go against bigger guys. You're quick enough to go against small guys. What's your natural position? If someone asks you.
My natural position has always been point guard. That's what I feel best at doing. I feel best with having the ball in my hand. But most importantly, I feel best being on the basketball court, whether you give me the ball or not. So I've kind of developed the ability to play on and off the ball.
Great. And what's an underrated, overlooked skill people need to take notice?
Of mine?
Yes.
I don't really think about it that way. I think, I don't really have a great answer for that. I just say, watch me and see what happens, I guess. see what you think.
Watch me and see what happens. Yo, bro, he's funny. He's funny as hell. Look, I understand that people are always going to hone in on the disaster that he wasn't able to inbound the basketball. There were a lot of comedy errors down the stretch. There's a lot of Duke Blue Devil fans who literally blame him for them not getting a national championship. I hear all of that, but he's a really good kid. He's gotten a lot better through his years. I think this could be a player that the Raptors 100% value at 39. And he's very mature. I think he's very light. And, I think this is a player who will be in play at 39. There's going to be a lot of players who are available at 39. This draft is getting a little bit deeper as I look into it. Let's go to the next man. And this one is truly one of my favorite prospects. And this is McKenzie Mgbako. I love this dude, man. I do. And he may not be OG, but he did play at Indiana, so he's got a leg up on everybody else already.
You being here, you were at the night camp as well. So what are your expectations overall?
Expectations for myself?
Yeah.
Just to put my best foot forward. Just show the scouts and teams that we're overall a team player, very skilled, athletic, and have a lot of intent to bring the game.
How would you feel you fare against your competition?
I feel like I'm right there, maybe even better. So, I just have a lot of confidence in myself and hope to show that.
What would you say that you need to improve on the most important parts of your game?
Just being more vocal, defense, things you don't see that don't show up on the stat sheet.
What's the most underrated thing about you that most people don't know about?
I'm a real vocal guy.
Quiet voice, vocal guy.
Do you have an example you can give?
From today?
Or today, or maybe the past year and the past season that you played?
Just an example of what, me being vocal?
And that really changed the dynamic of how the team played.
Oh, yeah. Coming off screens, just talking about being in the help backside, just quarterbacking the defense, things of that nature.
Who are your player comps?
DeAndre Hunter, I feel like, yes, sir.
Just him?
Jason Taylor, Kevin Durant, you tell me.
You were awesome today. With your goals and focus just coming out here and showing NBA scouts what you're about.
Yeah, it's just a lot about intentionality. I feel like my intentions coming to the game was to obviously get a win. We didn't come out with a win today, but I feel like we all tried our best to play team basketball, get the best shots, every position time down, and play defense.
What's going to go into?
Okay, we are definitely not going to Alex Condon. Oh no, my playlist got screwed up because of stupid Alex Condon. Oh man, sorry. I had this entire thing linked up, and then when it went to Alex Condon, it all got screwed up. So now I'm going blind. Shoot. And I don't have a co-host who can help me out. So give me 1 second here. We got to find the interviews now through the... Hang on. That's cool. We'll do it manually. So there's a couple more that I wanted to look at. I think Milos Uzan might be an interesting player for the Raptors. Maybe in the undrafted heat. We'll see. Definitely go check out the channel if you want to see the full interviews. There's a few more that I really want to check out. These are all players that I've talked about. A lot of these players I've talked about. I'm not high on Alex Condon. I'm just going to let you know. It's almost like I stopped it at Alex Condon because I was like, hell no, that ain't happening. Derek Queen 1 minute interview. That's dope. Cool. Thomas Sorber's interview was great. I actually did check that out already. Rocco Zikarsky, I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I'm very curious to see what he said about, his limited playing time. And I'm curious to see what Trey Johnson said as well. So we will go first to Cedric Coward. Cedric Coward. Give me one sec here.
What are you weighing, or your decision to go back or stay in the draft?
Yeah, so my decision right now, I'm 100% on the draft. Like, I think talking to Coach Shire and, the staff, they've agreed with me in terms of making sure I can focus solely on the draft. But at the end of the day, this is my dream, to make the NBA, just like, they got 5 other Duke guys here, you know what I mean? And so that to answer that question. And then, like, the feedback from teams, I think it's been well. I think what I've heard from not only the teams this morning, but also from my agent, is that I performed well at the combine. The film they watched, I performed well. Obviously, there's stuff to work on, with my game, and it's all around stuff, because I'm not yet an NBA player, but when I do become an NBA player, that's where you really, kick things into gear. And then honestly, for me, it's just making sure that I'm just being myself in these interviews, being myself. Like, I'm not going to change for nobody. If you like me for me, you're going to get the full me. You're going to get the full Cedric experience, and even you guys talking to me, like, I'm not going to change. I'm not up here talking like a businessman. I'm talking like myself. That's who I am, and I appreciate it.
Just to clarify, when you say you're 100% in the draft, is that you're 100% focusing on the draft, or you're 100% in the draft, no chance of going back?
100% focusing on the draft.
Okay. Is there a chance still that you might go back to Duke?
It depends. It really depends what I hear. At the end of the day, what I hear is based off of the information, or the decision I'm going to make is based off the information I get. And right now, the information is definitely leaning towards staying in the draft, and I can say that. But at the end of the day, we got to figure out the best decision to make for myself and the best decision to make for my family as I go forward.
Is there a threshold that you feel like, okay, if I'm hearing I'm going to get picked above pick X, I'll stay in the draft?
Not really. I don't really have like a threshold, I guess. Like, there's definitely a range everybody would like to go in. Like, everybody would love to go top 20. That would be great. And if I heard that, like, obviously. But at the end of the day, the draft is so unpredictable. You don't know. Like, Dalton Knecht was projected top 10 and then went 17. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't know what could happen. But at the end of the day, for me, it's more or less the spot in terms of the number and more of the spot in terms of the team I go to and how I can make an impact right away and how they see my game fitting within their system.
What was the game from this past season that you feel like best shows who you are as a player?
Eastern Washington game. I think that was my final game before I got hurt. And I think I put it all out there. I think I had like 22 points, 9 boards, and 7 assists, showing the all-around game. And honestly, it was just showing the comfort I was able to, go, because I know the game before that, Northern Colorado, I had 30 points. I only had like 2 rebounds. You know what I mean? And then the game before.
What that really means, like, they say they just like me how I am as a person as well.
Yeah.
So like, I can try to.
This is Georgetown freshman Thomas Sorber, who had a devastating foot injury to end his season. I think you're going to really like this guy. Measured out with a 7'6" wingspan. Really decent playmaker for a center. I like him.
What that really means, like, they say they just like me how I am as a person as well.
Yeah.
So like, I just try to basically be myself when I'm like in those interviews and meetings like that.
Who did you meet with today? Do you know?
I met with Chicago, the Chicago Bulls, the San Antonio Spurs, Utah Jazz, Minnesota Timberwolves, and
Detroit.
I forget one.
You probably all played.
Utah Jazz.
What was your meeting like with the
Detroit Pistons. There you go.
What was your meeting like with the Bulls?
It went well. It went well. They told me they've been watching me since, like, one of the people told me that they've been watching me since, like, I came into Georgetown, and like they've been to a couple practices, and they just liked how, like, I give energy out to, like, other players, and like how, like, I'm able to bring the same intensity every day.
What kind of feedback are you getting from your agent going into this process in terms of where you might go?
He's saying that I'm in, like, a range between, like, lottery and, like, not late, but, like, early 20s, kind of. So he's just like, when I go into these interviews, just like be myself and basically tell people who I am.
What about your game do you think translates to the next level immediately, and what are some of the things you might need to work on?
I say like my feel for the game, the way how I read the game as well, and like just like my ability on defense to just read how people are basically. And what I need to work on, I'll definitely say shooting because like my percentages, but I say that's mostly just like from my confidence. Like, because if you were looking at a couple of my games, like I hit a couple threes, then I missed 1 3, and then I stopped shooting for the rest of the game. So I'll say it's just like that confidence, like building back up.
Now, I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but your college coach is very tight with Billy Donovan. Do you get any kind of feedback about Billy Donovan?
Nah, I ain't hear anything from Billy Donovan yet. Nah.
Okay. Well, Ed and Billy go way back.
I can just let you know that he is very, very high up on Chicago's board from what I heard a couple of days ago.
For you watching film-wise?
Who I watch film-wise?
Yeah.
I try to watch like a little bit of everybody, like a little bit of every big. But like I've been watching the playoffs lately, so I've been seeing like a little bit of Jokic, a little bit of Trace Jackson Davis, like the way how he plays with intensity. So I just try to like learn off those like bigs and see what I can like do from it.
Who's your pro comp if you had to choose?
If I had to choose?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been hearing a lot lately, like a young Al Horford. So I gotta like get into the lab, look some YouTube videos up, but yeah.
And get the 3-point shot up because I do can hit it, man.
Facts.
Sorry if someone asked this already, but is the door closed for you?
That's actually
my idols growing up. So for me, I think that was really, really special.
Was the money close? Because I know college.
Okay, so this is Rocco Zikarsky. He played in the NBL. He is a 7'4", legit 7'3.5" Aussie with a huge wingspan and measured really well. He's very nimble. I talked about Rocco very early. If you remember the video I did with John D, I want to say 6 months ago, Rocco was one of the 10 players I said the Raptors should target. He had a really down year with the NBL. I've heard some stuff about him through the grapevine that maybe isn't so flattering, but I'll be very curious to see what the Raptors have heard. Maybe they've heard something else. Maybe they got different sources. Maybe there was a different story behind it. So very curious to see if he stays in this draft. But a 7'4" player with this level of coordination is not something you're going to find very easily. And he is like a legit 18 or 19 years old. He's got really good touch. He is a very good shot blocker. Someone is going to invest in this guy as a project. He's not going undrafted, but I'm curious to see if it'll be closer to 50 or 30 with him. Or does somebody roll the dice after what Mitchell Robinson and Steven Adams did in the playoffs and just say, shit, this is 7'4". I can't teach 7'4" and this level of coordination. So I think a lot of his stock is really going to depend on teams meeting with him, figuring out why he didn't play for his team, figuring out who he is, figuring out his attitude, figuring out his work ethic, figuring out if he fits into an NBA locker room. Because again, that's a huge part of this, right? I'm bringing you in as a second round pick or a late first rounder. You can't be disruptive to my locker room. So, yeah. Okay, let's get into Rocco Zikarsky. I promise you, at the end of this, we are gonna watch Carter Bryant, and I promise you're gonna love it. But we're gonna listen to Rocco Zikarsky, then we're going to listen to Rashier Fleming. If there's any more players y'all want to listen to, I haven't listened to any of these. I haven't listened to this one either. So we'll definitely check those out. Okay.
Right now, some of the numbers that they're going around for international guys are really, really high.
Yeah, I think the money now is insane. The college market is getting blown out. But yeah, I think for me at the time, it was just making the right decision by my family and by what I wanted as well. So yeah.
What do you make of 45 international guys are coming over to play college basketball next year, and they're getting real money?
Yeah, I think it's great for basketball. You know, there are kids that are going to get these opportunity to go over and not only play college but make a whole lot of money while doing it. And I think that, you know, that can set people up for a really long time. And I think it's great that internationals are slowly, you know, making their way over. And although, like, my preference was the NBL, I think a lot of guys have different preferences and different opinions on whatever that may be. So I think it's a really positive sign.
Appreciate it.
Last two for me. Do you take notice of any of the draft mock predictions?
That's a good question. I know my family do sometimes text me. I know my brother's all over it. For me, it's just I think of myself as a pretty special talent, and I don't really look at the mocks. Obviously I see them on my Instagram feed when I'm scrolling through, and I see 55 here and I see 48, and last year it was 20 and 15. So for me, I don't get too caught up in that stuff. It's going to go how it's supposed to go. And for me, if I can show one team, if I can show 10 teams how special I really am, that's all that matters to me.
Talk about the pride you have in representing Australia on the international stage.
Yeah, I mean, it was my dream. I remember growing up, all I wanted to do was, I was a swimmer first, and all I wanted to do was represent Australia at the Olympics for swimming. And then I picked up basketball, and it became, all right.
Yeah, that's another really major part of this. His fluidity comes largely from the fact that he is a really, really accomplished swimmer at a youth level. So, like, if you watch him move, you don't believe your eyes that he's 7'4". Like, so I think once he gets in front of teams, I think this could be a meteoric rise. There's another big player doing a meteoric rise right now, and that's Maxime Renaud. Buddy Terrifico saying, who's this? This is Rocco Zikarsky from the NBL. So, yeah, I think really interesting player. Very interesting player. Could go a lot higher than people realize. Again, when I watched him last year, I genuinely thought like he could be a top 15 pick. I mean, when you watch his film. But again, you don't play, people have questions. So Kristaps 2.0, hell no. He cannot be Kristaps 2.0. He's not a unicorn. He's not a shot maker like that. He reminds me a lot of actually a taller Jakob Poeltl with a little bit more stretch big potential. Like maybe he can shoot it at some level. So again, continuing on with the extended interview of Rocco Zikarsky.
I want to become a boomer. I want to go and play basketball at the highest level and put the green and gold across my chest. And I think everyone plays for the name on the front, not the name on the back, and I think that's what makes it really special.
Rocco,
thank you.
I know you had a coaching change. I met Schuler 2 years ago, spoke very highly of you, said you were going to be the #1 pick. How much did he mean to your development over there with the Brisbane Bullets?
Yeah, I mean, he was good. We had our ups and downs, that's for sure. But through juniors, he was great. And then, the NBL, I had a really successful first year, and that was great for me. And the second year, dealing with some injury and dealing with some other stuff, it just, it became hard. And wanting to win games and contract years for a lot of players, it made it really difficult. But he was good. He was supportive, and ultimately, I wouldn't have gone anywhere else.
For you, when you're watching film, are there certain guys you're taking stuff from and trying to implement in your game?
Yeah, I think a lot. Like in this pre-draft process, I've been watching a lot of Kristaps Porzingis. The way he can play offensively out of the short pick and roll into that mid-range, get into his shot has been really impressive. I think another guy for me is Miles Turner. Love the way he plays offensively and defensively. You've obviously got Evan Mobley, the past defensive player. He's unreal. I've been lucky enough to go to a couple of NBA games in person and watch Rudy. I think he's offensively he's all right. Defensively, I really enjoy watching his stuff. I think
he gets immediate 100% marks for talking shit about Rudy Gobert before he even gets to the NBA. The arrogance is coming off the page. I can tell you right now, someone's not going to like this.
Great defender, and those are the sort of guys that I like to sort of base myself around a little bit.
Going off of that, do you have any pro comps if you had to give yourself of who you want to be like or think you're like?
I don't know. That's a hard one. Look, I want to be. I think I told a couple of guys this. I want to be a Rudy Gobert plus. I think I bring that defensive energy and I bring that rim protection that Rudy Gobert's shown when he's won past Defensive Player of the Year awards. But I also think my offensive game. I'm going to be able to shoot the three. I'm going to be able to stretch the floor, and I'm going to be able to do a pick and roll and dunk the basketball. That's what I've been doing for years. So for me, that's sort of my focus. But obviously things do go how they want, and the teams can structure it how they want. But I'm just excited to show what I can do.
Do you have a player you're most excited to go up and match up against when you reach the NBA?
Yeah, I think personal matchup is definitely Victor Wembanyama. You know, he's been regarded as the future of basketball.
Oh dear God. Okay, cool. Look, I think everything we watch is sort of framed by what we already think. The biases are real. I was very high on Rocco Zikarsky coming into the draft cycle. I slowly soured on him as I heard stories. No, not from the guy that we interviewed, but from a couple of other people that had heard things, maybe about him. And I think it's cool to be confident, right? It's great to be confident, right? It's great to be confident. You need confidence to succeed at this next level. You don't want a prospect who's like, yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. But you also need a dose of reality. You don't need anyone coming in and thinking that they're way better than they are. He smiled when, he said that there was a mock draft who put him at number 1. Look, I have a friend. I'm not going to name the name, okay? But he's Serbian. You can probably figure it out. Who was once mocked as the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. He didn't go number 1. He wasn't a lottery pick. He fell off boards. But at one point, people saw a 7-footer and they thought he was the number 1 pick. I have a friend who is 7'4" and was actually drafted by an NBA team and never played for that team. And I got to tell you, man, like, I don't want to downplay because obviously how am I going to say this the nice way? The NBA is a reality check, bro. You're talking shit about Rudy Gobert, talking about facing off against Victor Wembanyama. You're talking about, being compared to Kristaps Porzingis. You are nowhere near those players at all. How quickly you're going to figure that out, how well you're going to react to figuring that out, and then how hard you're going to work. Honestly, I don't need a player to be false humble. If this is what you feel, I'm happy you said it. It kind of shows me where your head's at, and then I get to watch you with a different lens. I personally think he'd be very lucky to replicate the career of a Steven Adams or a Jakob Poeltl. But if your head is, I'm a star, you're going to be very frustrated when you're in the G League. You're going to be very frustrated when you're playing third string, and you're going to be very frustrated when teams beat the shit out of you, because they will. Now, again, the potential is tantalizing. The personality is not so much. If he really is a star, by all means, talk your shit, bro, because this type of energy can only come from a star. Now, Ivan Cheryev once said the NBA needs Ivan Cheryev. Ivan Cheryev never made the NBA. Okay. There's been a lot of players, Shabazz Muhammad. There's been a lot of players throughout NBA history, draft cycles, whatever, that have come in, talked a really big game. OJ Mayo thought he was better than Michael Jordan. I mean, there's a lot. Okay. Look, OJ Mayo was 1,000 times more accomplished at this age than Rocco Zikarsky. Okay. Again, confidence is good. It must be backed up with something. Are you willing to back it up with the work ethic? Then by all means, draft this guy fucking lottery, because 7'4" with his coordination, his shot blocking, his timing, his hands, his shooting potential. No, fuck the Kristaps Porzingis stuff. He has touch. He does not have that kind of touch. If you had that kind of touch, there's no chance in hell anyone's mocking you at 7'5" at 55. But I promise you, people talk, coaches talk. This is a player that I think a lot of teams are going to red flag and just say, no, not for me. If he does find a team that believes in him in the late first round and he carves out a role immediately, I think there's a world in which he can be a very serviceable NBA player. It's his own personality and his own ego that's probably going to rub his teammates the wrong way, in my opinion. And again, if you back it up by becoming one of the top 50 players in the league, no one's going to care too much. But he's got some growing up to do, in my opinion. He sounds real mature, but I think there's a dose of reality that's sort of missing from that equation. Okay. But it was nice to hear why he did not play and that there was contracts and stuff. I suspected as much. Here's Trey Johnson.
I don't think one's ever got the better of the other. I feel like it's always been an even match, and that's one of my closest friends actually in this draft class, and just knowing no matter when or wherever we're checking the ball up, it's going to be a great matchup.
Right. How did that? I mean, what was that like going back and forth? Is it talking? Is it no talking? What's it like?
It's talking.
Zigsaw Puzzle said, I think you're missing the culture with Aussies in context. My friend, I have plenty of friends from Australia. I was the biggest Dyson Daniels booster when he came out of the draft. I am relatively high on Tyrese Proctor. I have no real issue with Ben Simmons other than his regression. I wasn't low on him as a prospect. I've never downgraded an Aussie prospect. In my recollection, I can't remember a lot of Aussie prospects. I liked Andrew Bogut, not as a first overall pick, but I liked Aussie. Andrew Bogut. I mean, granted, he's like Croatian by birth, but he is Aussie by culture. There's been a lot of fantastic players that come out of Australia. In fact, I love most of them. Honestly, I do. Okay. The problem here is not about culture. I actually come from a really, really blunt culture myself. I'm a Serb. Okay. I'm a Serb who grew up in New York. You don't need to teach me, you don't need to school me about blunt. I just think, here's the thing. When I listen to these interviews, I want to know, who do you see when you look in the mirror? How realistic is your pathway to getting there? I think you're going to hear that in the Carter Bryant interview. And I guess we'll see where that goes, but that's kind of where I'm at.
It's talking both ways, and it's crazy for that to still be my friend. I swear. Yeah. We won't even talk about the game, and it's still like we're close and tight, but we know when we're on the court, we're going back and forth. It's going to be a goal for sure.
What is the game from this past season that you think people should watch to get the best idea of your game?
I like the A&M game we played in the second time, just because it was a comeback game, and then just playing both sides of the ball, guarding one of their other best guards on their team outside of Wade, and then it was just a great game overall, for sure.
Trey, when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy?
Personally, I always told myself just trying to be top 5. You can't even argue that. Like top 5 best player of all time. And that's what the goal is for me when it's all said and done.
You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So this is Walter Clayton. We're going to give Walter Clayton the 3 minutes. I don't necessarily think the Raptors are going to be anywhere in the range to draft Walter because I think Walter is going first round. I really like him a lot, actually. I see him as a smaller Jamal Murray. I see a little bit of Fred VanVleet in him, although I don't think he's the defender that Fred VanVleet is. I think he's a little bit more efficient than Fred VanVleet was. So I'm curious to see where he ends up, but I have a lot of love for Walter Clayton for sure.
Helped us out a lot on and off the court.
All right. So who was the SEC guard that you were just like, this is a tough one?
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna say last year. Honestly, this year I can't really think about any exact one, but last year, man, Dalton Connect, he gave us 39, so I'll say him.
Okay.
And then, how has your mentality kind of changed from starting off at Iona, like going to Florida, and how do you feel like that's prepared you coming into the league now?
For sure. I wouldn't say no difference in mentality. Obviously, work every day. Stay where you at, be present in the moment, and just keep on working. So I wouldn't say a mentality change.
Thoughts you potentially landing with the Washington Wizards. What do you know about the organization, the team, et cetera?
Obviously, NBA team, great organization. They're working to win games just like everybody else. So if I was blessed, to be drafted by them, it'd be great. Come in and work from day one.
What's the most underrated part of your game?
Most underrated, I'd probably say playmaking. I think I'm a pretty good playmaker. Making passes, things like that. And I think it'll go to another level with NBA spacing.
And then when you get up to the NBA, once you hear your name called, what's going to be that thought process? If you can anticipate that at all, what would it be?
Honestly, I don't know, man. My mom will probably just be blank. My mom will probably start crying or something. So hopefully I don't shed no tears, but I might. We'll see.
Is that you're bringing Brooklyn with you? Who's going to be in that entourage?
For sure, my mama, my girl, my daughter, my little sister, my pops, and my auntie.
There you go. Have you thought about outfits yet?
I have not. We trying to stay present right now. We're going to think about it later. I'm trying to let my mom handle all that.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to her.
There you go. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Know that you were ready to take the jump from the MAC, which is a good league. Mm-hmm. People don't know that, but they confuse it with the other MAC, of course. But that you're ready to make that jump. How are you convinced that you're like, okay, I can do this?
First of all,
similar jump now.
For sure, yeah. First, shout out to Coach P. Just helping me get better over those 2 years that I was there. And I say it all the time, man. The difference in the college games at most of the levels isn't really the guards, it's the bigs. So, I felt like I could take that jump. As long as I kept working, made the jump, had some success at Florida.
You're obviously kind of the old man in this group. Cooper's 18. you know, you've seen things, you've lived life a little bit. How much better prepared? Not to say they're ill prepared, but you've been through some stuff already.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
much does that prepare you for what's coming now?
You know, I can't speak for, you know, anybody else, but especially for me, you know, over my years, you know, just mentally, you know, I think I've gotten different things that I've needed over the years, and it's just, you know, mentally helped me grow into a space where I'm comfortable at now, and I feel like I'm ready for anything.
Who's your pro comp if you had to give yourself one?
I don't got no specific player, I ain't gonna lie.
What film are you watching then of guys that you want to take things from them?
Yeah, for sure. You got Brunson with his footwork, patience in the paint. You got Donovan Mitchell with his just different moves to get to a floater, and then you got Holiday with just his instincts on defense.
Good guys to be watching. Best luck for you.
I gotta love this, man. I gotta tell you. So interesting. Will you ever cover hockey? I have a very specific hockey specific point. I was trying to get it off on the panel, but they just cut me off the minute I said Austin Matthews. So let me just say something real quick before we get to Carter Bryant. I have spent a great deal of my life trying to understand what clicks, what doesn't, why people are the way they are. There's a lot of my work that actually in basketball that extends back to my work as a scriptwriter, my work as an academic, the research, everything I've read, the hundreds and hundreds of books that I've read about individual psychology, neuroscience. I try to blend all of it, maybe not in a specifically cited academic way where I'm specifically saying, okay, this specific, thing from a sociological concept, this is what applies here. No, it's a compendium of knowledge that you try to bridge together to form better opinions about people, right? Because again, I say this all the time. If you're so smart, why are you always wrong, right? So it's about predictive analysis. I've talked about this many, many times, whether we're talking about predictive analysis about prospects, trying to figure out which interviews give you a window into a person. Now, what I just heard from Walter Clayton Jr. was a remarkably confident young man, right? But you don't feel like he's insecure. It's very different. Confidence backed by actual self-assuredness. He's not putting on an act. This ain't an act. This is who he is. I know that because I watched him all year, and this shit backs up. This shit tracks. So if I'm a team that's listening to this guy, I see him and I say, okay, he's a remarkably confident player, so he's not going to completely break apart when he doesn't get the minutes and touches that he needs at the next level. He's not going to bitch and complain because he's already shown me over the last 4 years that he's willing to put in the work to extend the level. He's not going to get completely caught off guard by the gap of talent at the next level because he already has the presence of mind to understand that. He says Jalen Brunson because he's pushed to say Jalen Brunson, that he's watching Jalen Brunson, but he resists comparing himself to a specific player, partially because he probably understands that he's going to be his own player. The mentality is perfect. He's going to be a good player. In my opinion, he's going to be a good player. I've listened to a lot of busts talk. He doesn't talk like a bust. Now let's get to another player who doesn't talk like a bust, and that's Carter Bryant. Now, you're going to fall in love with this kid. I promise you. And if you haven't already believed the Carter Bryant hype train, this interview is going to be everything for you. What the hell? What is going on here? Huh? Oh, shit. Okay, here we go.
I see myself describing it as almost like a progression. Like early in the league, I feel like I'm a guy that can guard multiple positions. Obviously, I want to be able to start 1 through 5. I feel like I'm capable of guarding 1 through 4 now. Obviously, I need to get a little bit stronger, but eventually I see myself being the guy that can guard all 5 positions on the floor. So I would say I watch a lot of Tumari Kamara right now, Trey Murphy. I watch Herb Jones.
I want to apologize because I completely lost my train of thought about this Leafs thing. I don't know why I did that. Give me 1 sec here. I'm pull off Carter Bryant for a second. We'll restart that, and I'll give you my point about the Leafs. I've run out of coffee, so shit. I hope I don't have to cough. Hang on 1 second. Okay. So here's the thing. Yesterday, the Leafs lost 6-0 to the Florida Panthers. It was devastating to watch. It really sucks. And I'm really sorry for all the Toronto Maple Leafs fans and Toronto sports fans, because that was embarrassing. It led to a lot of fans leaving in the third period. It also led to some people throwing jerseys. Here's something that I noticed, obviously, from the comedy of errors, the blind pass, all that stuff. It sucked, right? It generally sucked to watch that level of effort. Asked about it, Austin Matthews was asked about, people leaving, right? And how he feels about people leaving. And what did he say? He said, I guess we didn't give them a reason to stay. We didn't give them much of a reason to stay. You know what that is? That is a perfect response to that question. You know how Joel Embiid or Paul George or someone that a lot of people hate on would have probably responded to that? You know how LeBron James probably would have responded to that? I don't think LeBron James would have taken accountability in that motion, in that moment. I think LeBron or Joel Embiid or someone like that probably would have said, well, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be myself, and they're going to have to go home and they're going to be themselves. The arrogance shows up in your responses to hard questions. A hard question is, you just got blown out 6-0, right? You just got blown out 6-0 and your fans are leaving. And, a lesser man, a lesser person would have just come out and been like, yeah, the fans need to stick around. We need their support. Kind of putting it back on them. Putting it back on yourself is the hardest thing to do. So that's something that I listen for and I really watch for. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the Leafs and, good luck, hopefully coming back in this series. I don't really follow hockey, as y'all know, but, obviously as a Torontonian right now, as a Torontonian for the last, 20 years now, obviously I support Toronto sports. So, good stuff. So let's get back to Carter Bryant.
I'm a guy that I see myself describing it as almost like a progression. Like early in the league, I feel like I'm a guy that can guard multiple positions. Obviously, I want to be able to start 1 through 5. I feel like I'm capable of guarding 1 through 4 now. Obviously, I need to get a little bit stronger, but eventually I see myself being a guy that can guard all 5 positions on the floor. So I would say I watch a lot of Tumati Kamara right now, Trey Murphy. I watch Herb Jones, Drew Holiday, Derek White, and I see myself becoming one of the stars in this league. So it's something that I watch a lot of film on Kyrie, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum as well. So I understand there's a progression to get to that point, but knowing that I'm capable of doing that as well.
So it seems like defending first and then as the fall, he like playmaking.
For sure. I know I'm capable of becoming one of the best players in this league. And it's just something that you have to work towards every day.
And then the second question is, like, you're part of kind of like this first generation of guys who come into the league through NIL, right? He's starting beat money in college. Obviously not the case in 2021.
Right.
How do you think that prepares you for the NBA, or how's that impacted your life as you become, I guess, true pro?
Yeah, I think it's something that's beautiful for the game. A lot of guys should have been paid before. A lot of guys that had a very large impact on the game of basketball. But I think it's a beautiful thing. Being able to play the game you love and get paid at an earlier level, it's something you don't take for granted.
Thank you.
Is there someone who, once you enter the NBA, you're like most excited to match up against right away?
Everybody. I would say D-Book.
Okay.
D-Book. I can't wait to match against him. So guys like Trey Murphy. Trey, that's my guy. I would say I look up to Jason Tatum when he gets back healthy. Kyrie Irving, obviously, when he gets back healthy as well. There's a lot of guys I can't wait to match up with. It's a league that you get a great matchup every night. You get to play against the best players in the world, so I'm looking forward to playing against everybody.
Other than yourself, is there a prospect who you think should be talked about more, is maybe underrated in the draft process?
For sure, I feel like there's a few guys. I think Miles Bird.
Yeah,
very underrated. I'm curious if he says Tahad Pettiford. I kind of feel like he will, but let me just see. I haven't watched this interview, by the way. I only watched the first little bit, so the rest of the 6 minutes, I'm actually watching for the first time with y'all. Rated athlete, good. He has a knack for making shots, a knack defensively, getting in passing lanes, being able to make reads defensively. And then I think also Drake Powell. Drake Powell is a name that I think is a name that needs to be going around NBA Rosemont. He's a great athlete, great basketball player, and he's a good human being as well.
Have you met the Bucks yet?
No, sir.
Do you have anything planned with them that you know of?
I believe I'm supposed to meet with them on Friday.
Right. How would you describe that interview process with all the team? Bounce rate,
I mean, I think it's a great experience. It's such a unique experience. Not many people get the opportunity to be here. So first thing for me is I'm trying to soak it all in and take advantage of the moment, just appreciate every opportunity I get to do something. But it's a great experience being able to go in the room, answer questions, being able to be yourself, be authentic. It's a great experience.
Carter, can you talk about any gains you made this year and specifically like the progress you saw with your shooting?
Yeah, I think as this year progressed, I spent a lot of time with TJ Benson and with Mgbako. They did a great job at kind of speeding up my shot, allowing me to get my feet down. I think as the season progressed, I got a lot more comfortable in shooting off the move shots and off the dribble shots. I think we saw as the season progressed, I made a lot of big time shots, and I think that's just a testament to my work and my coaching staff and the belief that the coaching staff had on me as well.
And then second part, in high school, you were known for your passing quite a bit. That's something that people who saw you at Arizona don't necessarily have a full appreciation for yet. Talk to me about that part of you.
Yeah, I would say I was out of defense. Passing is one of my favorite things to go on the floor. I think with myself, I try to get to spots where I'm one pass away from everything, and I think just simplifying the game allows me to do that. So not necessarily that I'm the spectacular passer, but I make the game so simple that reads are easy to make. You have to be able to make reads that are repeatable. So I think that's what comes with being a great passer.
Who's your favorite NBA player?
All time or right now?
Either. Both.
All time, I'm going to go Kobe Bryant and Tracy McGrady. And then right now, I'm going to go Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, and Kyrie.
You know what's interesting? He said Tracy McGrady, and T-Mac went number 9 to the Raptors. I just think that's hilarious because I tagged him in a story about it, and he saw it. He hearted it. He's cool, man. He's a really cool dude. I've had a chance to get to know all his circle and, people around him and people who covered him and stuff. I did a lot of digging. I probably did more digging into him. Him and Kaman are the players that I know the best in this entire cycle, like from the people around them to all that stuff. So that's kind of interesting that he brought up Tracy McGrady. I thought that was hilarious. Also, he went with 2 old school guys. And I mentioned this before, and I will actually tell you, this dude right here knows more about basketball than you. I promise you with my life, his basketball trivia is off like nerd sesh. There's no 19-year-old that I've met in my life who knows more about hoop than this guy. It's really kind of cool. So it's pretty nuts, man. This is anecdotal shit, right? His dad coached Kawhi Leonard. What does it mean, man? Who cares, right? He's coming from a long line of athletes. What does it mean? You know what? Something that means something to me that he mentioned Tamani Kamara and Herb Jones. Like, there's something about like understanding the mindset of an athlete, right? You got to understand that there are steps to everything and that you got to go through the progression. I have no problem with you being on floor 2 telling me about how one day you will be on floor 99. I have no problem with that. As long as you and I both understand and both agree that there are 97 steps for you to go through, right? And what I appreciate about him saying progression, again, as a 19-year-old, as a freshman, he didn't come out and say, yeah, I'm a guard LeBron. That's going to be my, he immediately understands that this shit is not going to happen overnight. He knows that there's like brick by brick approach to it. He is the epitome of chop wood, carry water. You know who else is very chop wood, carry water? Over Shamshi. You know who else is very chop wood, carry water? Emmanuel Quickly. You know who else is very chop wood, carry water? Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick. Literally, like every player the Raptors draft has this mentality of, I'm going to be great, but for now, I'm going to fit in and figure it out, work really hard, and one day I'll get there. You don't want athletes to say, my dream is to be, you don't want someone to come out and say, my ultimate dream in life is to be a 5-year NBA player. You don't want that because that shows me you have no vision. But you also don't want someone to come out and necessarily feel like they're going to be starter on day 1. They're going to have the ball in their hands and they're going to be running point and they're going to be winning Rookie of the Year, because that might not be very realistic. And your expectations and how your expectations match up with your skill set versus what your team needs of you. I want to hear a player say, I'm willing to do the dirty work. I want to hear a player say, I'm willing to hit open shots and, deal with 14% usage and come off the bench. I want to hear that. And when he tells you that he's, Tamani Kamara, Herb Jones, that's what he's telling you. He's telling you, I'm willing to take on the hardest defensive assignment. I'm willing to hit open shots, but I'm also, don't sell me short. I'm he has a tweet pinned on his Twitter profile that says, "One day I will be the best player in the world." Honestly, probably not. But I do believe that this guy will not leave anything in the tank. We talk about outcomes, 99th percentile outcome, second percentile outcome. Why does an athlete hit their second percentile outcome? Something had to go wrong. Something had to go wrong. Maybe what went wrong was that you had an injury. Maybe what went wrong is you don't know how to fit in an NBA locker room. Maybe what went wrong is you ended up in the wrong situation with the wrong teammates. Maybe what went wrong is you just don't translate to the NBA. Your shot's too slow. Your shot's too flat. Your athleticism is not good enough. You can't generate any space. Maybe what went wrong is something else altogether. But my point is, athletes don't just end up at their second percentile outcome without some shit going wrong. At the same point, you usually don't end up at your 99th percentile outcome without a lot of things going right. Got to end up in the right situation. As high as I'm on Carter, if he ends up in the wrong situation, it could be really bad for him, right? If he ends up on a team that doesn't know how to handle his development well, which is to say, a team that doesn't know how to work on the two timeline approach with him, right? On the one hand, you do want to give him some meaningful reps. On the other hand, you do want to give him the progression that he's talking about. You don't want this guy to settle at Toumani Camara. He has shot-making abilities, quite frankly, off the dribble that I don't think Toumani Camara had at the same age. Toumani was also much older, and he was a 52nd overall pick. Just because he has the athleticism and the toolkit, you know the worst situation for a guy like this? New York. He's going to get boxed in. He's never going to get minutes. And when he gets minutes, he's going to have the most redundant role possible. The best situation for a guy like this is San Antonio, Toronto, Brooklyn. These are the best situations for him because these are the teams that are going to actually handle his development really, really well, right? So Phoenix Plays that said, Carter has 0 isolation possessions. To you, I say, go watch him in high school. Again, you don't want to judge a player entirely by their college tape because college tape is not indicative of who a player is. This is the same mistake I made with Jacoby Walter last year until I watched his link tape. And then I felt a hell of a lot better about Jacoby. Y'all watch me switch up on Jacoby so fast after I watched his high school tape because now I saw all the wiggle, all the creation that I didn't get to see in his Baylor tape. And this is the whole thing with Carter. I'm not making that same mistake 2 years in a row. This kid has a lot more creation. Maybe it's not self-generated first option creation. I'm not comparing him to Jason Tatum as a creator at this level or Jaylen Brown or frankly any high lottery pick. But you'd be crazy to think that he doesn't have at least like the ability to score 20 points per game in the league at some point. He definitely does. But when you also combine that with the fact that he has the floor of probably a top 10, top 8 wing defender in the league and the size and athleticism to make all this work, and he has such great off-ball tendencies. Again, I mentioned this before. He's not a dummy. He's not a stupid player, which is to say he has a high basketball IQ. He is smart. He reads the game well. He is very nurtured in the game, which is to say he is very comfortable in the game. He studies the game. He's a reader of the game. He's not just one of your big high fly jump athletes who think they're going to fucking walk in and dominate the league on day one. He understands he's going to be a bench player. He understands that he's going to have to carve his way in. And he probably also understands that he is on floor 2, floor 3. And he's going to have to work for it. This is the type of shit you don't pass up on at this level, man. And you know, to anyone who wonders why I became so high on Scotty Barnes, why I became so high on Dyson Daniels, why I was high on some of these players that I was high on in the draft, much higher than everybody else, because I had Scotty top 3 on my board. Most people had him. I had him top 3 when most people had him top 8. I had Dyson top 4 when people had him borderline second round. What is it in Dyson Daniels' tape? What is it in Amen and Asar Thompson? What is it in Scotty Barnes that I saw? Insanely high floor, man. Number 1, insanely high floor. Number 2, insanely hard work ethic, like good work ethic. Number 3, insanely self-aware players. Amen and Asar did not walk into the league thinking they were going to be stars. They knew there was process to it. Dyson Daniels did not. Like, when I watched Dyson work out, like prior to the draft, I gotta tell you, like, I had a friend who was a little bit close to his circle who was in the same trainer circle as him. So I got to watch like 10, 12 minutes of him working. He never seemed like he was better than everyone. He was the highest regarded prospect in that workout. He never felt like he was trying to like big dog everybody. He's just a guy. He's just like, okay, I'm here to learn. He was probably going harder in those drills that the trainer was putting him through than anybody in that workout. That showed me you're not Stanley Johnson. No offense to Stanley Johnson. He ain't like that. So there's a lot of things that translate in the NBA level. I think Carter is showing me, at least, there's a reason why this guy has flown up from borderline second rounder to like almost a consensus lottery pick at this point. There's still some doubters, though. There's still some people that are like, come on, look at all the holes. Bro, I'm not stupid. I see all the holes. I've pointed out all the holes. I pointed to all the holes. I'm acknowledging the holes. I get it. He's not coming in to be rookie of the year on day one. He ain't going to do it. But I'll tell you, this kid has a chance to grow so much in the first 2-3 years of his career if he goes to the right place. Don't be surprised if 4 or 5 years now you look up and he is an all-star. He has that upside. He has that potential, because what's that Kawhi Leonard quote? Slow is pro, right? Slow is pro. There's a step-by-step approach to being a professional basketball player, just like there's a step-by-step approach to becoming a professional podcaster or a professional anything. If you want to be a pro, you're gonna have to learn to not skip steps. You're gonna have to learn to self-evaluate. You're gonna have to learn to self-regulate. There's a million things that divide a person who fails and a person who succeeds. And ultimately, if you're looking at 6.6 points per 6.6 points, if you're looking at 0 isolation possessions, if you're looking at assist to turnover ratio as a be all end all, it ain't the be all end all, because I've never seen a player in my life be determined by whether or not they came off the bench. You know who came off the bench? Devin Booker came off the bench. Scotty Barnes came off the bench, right? Those players are phenomenally successful, right? So you got to look at the mindset of the athlete. You got to be a good reader of this stuff. I think he is flashing 100% marks on everything off the court. There's no red flags with this guy. There's not a person you're going to talk to, from his teammates to his coaches. Well, I don't know what his coach is going to say. I never talked to his coaches. No one that's around this guy, who's coached this guy at the youth level, who's going to be like, yeah, he was a bad practice player. Yeah, he didn't bring it. Yeah, he was late. He doesn't do that shit. So he's already achieved half the problem, which is you got to grow up. You can't be late. You can't be missing practices. You can't be late for practices. And you know what? If you're going to do it when you're the best player, you're definitely going to do it when you're the worst player. If you're going to do it when it's for the love of the game, you're probably definitely going to do it when you have a guaranteed contract and I already signed you to the money. I'd love to tell you that every single person takes their NBA career super seriously. That is not the case. That is not the truth. That is not how it works. There's a lot of players who come into the NBA thinking it's going to be easy. When they find out how hard it actually is, when they find out that they don't have their days anymore, when they find out that their time is there's no off season anymore. Like, you basically play. When you're not playing, you're in rest and recovery. When you're not in rest and recovery, you're in shoot around, you're doing drills, you're working with your trainer. When you understand the work that it took for Pascal Siakam to go from point A to point B to point C to point D, when you see how hard that shit is, you'll quit. You'll quit. Most people will quit way, way, way before they get to that point. This kid will not quit. And that's what I feel about him. This is the same mindset that they identified in OG and Pascal. OG had a weak handle. OG got stripped all the time. OG wasn't a good shooter. Jonathan Mobo was not a good shooter. Jamal Shed was not a good shooter. This is not how the Raptors scout. The Raptors draft people. They don't, I'm not saying they're going to draft a 5'6" person. Well, I mean, they almost did in Marquise Noel. That's when there's a draft, but you get my point, right? We're investing in the people because we believe it's the people and the brain and the heart and the work ethic and the habits that ultimately create the professional. Yeah. Okay, back to Carter.
So, is there any particular reason for any of those guys to kind of lump them together with something?
They all play with the simplicity of the game. If you, all those guys I named off, I think Jason Tatum, he really simplifies the game and gets to his mid-range, gets to his bumps, his fades, and all those things. He's one of the most unstoppable players in the league. I mean, he's 6'10", probably about 240, so it's hard to stop a guy when he has the will to just go finish at the rim and shoot over the top of you like that. And obviously with Kobe, D-Book, and Kyrie, even Tracy McGrady, I feel like a lot of those dudes fall into the same tree in terms of being able to make difficult shots and make the game simple.
What did you major at?
Say again?
What did you major at college?
I was undecided. But I was going to go criminal justice. Doing it to my sophomore year.
And your grade 20 average is pretty good.
Yeah, it was a 3.8.
That's pretty good. This has been Passer last now. There's still maybe something to see for you about whether you're going to return here.
Yo, 3.8 is fire. You have a 3.8 GPA. Yo, that's dope. I'll tell you, all the people who are going to be interviewing him are going to be blown away by a 3.8. That's
We found
high.
out when you officially declared. Have you decided yet?
Yeah, I've officially declared for the draft. Yes, sir.
What teams have you met with? You kind of have a sense of what your ranking would be?
I try not to worry about that. That's something I try to allow my agency and the people around me to deal with. But I've met with the Dallas Mavericks today. I met with the Golden State Warriors, the Brooklyn Nets, the Portland Trail Blazers. I met with the Minnesota Timberwolves as well.
For you going against Duke twice this year, what were the challenges of facing Coach Clyde?
I mean, he's a great basketball player. I think many people obviously have seen that. He's a guy that can finish with both hands. He's a smart player. He makes some reads, so that's why it's so difficult to defend. And I think Duke did a great job of putting him in actions to put you at a disadvantage as a defender. They put him in spots, whether that was the elbows, as the trailer at the top of the key, to where you had to be in help constantly. And as soon as the action that you had a decision to make, so guarding him was definitely tough.
But why did the coach want to speed up your shot?
Just for the consistency of it. I think getting your feet down is something that plays a large role in having a consistent shot. That power kind of generates for your whole body. So speeding up my footwork allowed me to kind of get my hands and my feet underneath myself so I could have a fluid jump shot.
I'm sorry.
No.
Now, when did it start to feel natural?
I feel like I've always had a natural feeling to shoot the ball, but the consistency came probably towards the middle of the season when conference play came around. It was something we were working on every day. I mean, I was coming in 3 times a day. The last workout of the day was all shot prep stuff, just getting my lineup finished. And one of our managers at Arizona did a great job, and props to him. I was coming in every night. He was coming with me 2 hours. First hour, we were touching the 3-point line, and then the second hour, we were kind of just getting into my rhythm stuff, allowing myself to make shots.
Carter, what have the interviews with teams been like? How did they compare to your expectations?
It's been amazing. I'm a kid that just dreamed to be in this position. So, like, in my head, and if you just told 8-year-old Carter that he would be in this position, he's ecstatic. So I kind of just try to approach it with that same mindset, try not to put too much stress and pressure on yourself. I'm not going to act like I didn't have any nerves, but the first meeting I went in, I remember, like, my voice felt kind of shaky, almost like not a lack of confidence thing, but it's almost like, wow, like, you really here, kid. This is the moment you've been dreaming of.
Is it mostly interviews, or are you doing film breakdowns?
It's been a lot of everything. I mean, I've had teams where I've had to draw on a board and they wanted me to draw up a player or two. I've had teams where they've just asked me questions in a more serious manner. I've had more of a casual conversation with teams, and not teams where I can watch pretty much straight film and they wanted me to kind of see my thought process going through plays.
Are you trying to get to know them as well as them trying to get to know you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you want to be surrounded by a good group of people and people that believe in you. So as much as they're learning about me, I'm learning about them, just taking my mental notes and things of that nature. Obviously, I don't get to choose where I go, but just understanding that you remember people's names and things of those sorts. It's just things that are very important, because obviously the league is people move. People at the top of the organizations move along with players. So you just have to be able to present yourself well in front of others.
Carter, are there...
Okay. So I think that if you were a little bit wishy-washy on Carter Bryant, you will now understand why I absolutely love this kid. I do believe I've been saying that he's going to go top 12. Initially, my initial post about him, and again, some of you haven't really seen any clips of Carter, so let me introduce you very briefly. Post Martinitza saying, oh, his dad Deshane is a high school basketball coach. Yeah, and he's a really, really good person as well. He comes from really good people. His mom's a really nice person. You know, you see it in everything that they do. They're just really, really solid family. So hang on one second. I'm going to show you something. Whew. Okay, so this is my initial post about Carter. And this is from April 13th. Okay, cool. So this was my first post about Carter. And I said, the Raptors might go off the board if they drop to 8. This is when I still thought we might, go 8. Kept thinking about 8. I don't know why. And I think there's a player that fits what they're looking for to a team, or Arizona freshman Carter Bryant. I'll add my detailed thoughts on Carter Bryant below, but over the 6 weeks of scouting Bryant this season, he's one of my biggest sleepers in this draft, and won't be surprised if he's a lottery pick this June. So My rationale at the time, and I'm actually curious to read this if my thoughts have changed at all. Toronto has bet on length and positional versatility a lot under Masai Ujiri, and for good reason. OG, Pascal, Scotty, Mobo, the list is long. Under Darko, we've seen a more focus on shooting upside with picks like Grady and Jacoby in the back-to-back first rounds. They've also been more than willing to gamble on players with very poor assist metrics, negative 10 assists per, so less than 10% assist percentage. That's a concern with consensus top 5 picks, Ace Bailey, as it was with Ochai Agbaji, Grady Dick, and Jacoby Walter. So meet Carter Bryant, a guy who checks every box imaginable on the court for how the Raptors envision playing around Scotty Barnes. I said a big part of how I scout is off the court. This takes time, but digging through 10 to 15 hours of pods, interviews, reaching out to people who played with him or had contact with the player. My takeaways about Carter are what make me so positive Toronto will be interested. Faith first, humble kid, constantly quoting Bible scriptures, all the time. Insanely hard worker, loves basketball and winning. Dad to Shane Bryant, coach Kawhi at Riverside King High School. So he really did grow up around the game. Great familial bloodlines in athletics, which really shows. He went to Arizona. His family went to Arizona, so he was like around Arizona Wildcats basketball a lot as a kid. He went to Arizona without a commitment on playing time because he wanted to earn it. Turned down more NIL money at Louisville because he felt U of A would better prepare him for the next level. What does that show me? What does that show me? Now, I don't want to take any swipes at Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, but they went for the bag. They knew they were going to be on shit roster. They probably didn't realize it was going to be this shit. They chose to go where the money was. This kid did not go where the money was. He did not go where the most playing time was. You can take that one of two ways. You can take that as he has a role player mindset. He doesn't want to show out. He doesn't want to be the man. I don't see it that way. I see it as, that kid in high school who thinks he's got it made because he's a star of the varsity team and he's got all the girls. So he doesn't go to school. He doesn't go to class. He doesn't take his grades seriously because he swears the good times are never going to end. And he's on top of the world. Well, that kid is going to peak in high school. But there's another kid in high school who's going to play 5 sports, who's maybe not going to be some star athlete, but is going to be a decent athlete because he knows that it's good for his health. But he's also going to go to class. He's also going to get a fucking scholarship. He's going to work overtime, and he's going to work, and he's going to do all that work because he realizes high school is not the peak of his life. The peak of his life is when it's all done, that he can say at 65 that I didn't leave anything on the table. And I'm telling you that as the kid who did that. I'm the kid who tried out for all the teams, went, played, had a million different commitments through high school. But, come grade 11, I got my shit together and I got a scholarship to U of T. I had a much larger vision for my life than a lot of people around me did. There were people around me who were smarter than me. There were people around me who were much more gifted than I was, but I wasn't going to let them outwork me. And I say this a lot, real see real, people who have certain traits tend to identify those traits better in others. Ironically, we tend to identify traits we don't have in others as well. So all I say about Carter is that. So I said he grew up watching Tatum, Kobe, Paul George, Grant Hill, Brandon Roy, and he had a serious injury which required surgery. So development potential might be a little bit untapped. But again, Toronto wants good people, and Carter's a good person as he is about basketball. So this quote was about his father. I said, as a player, he reminds you of players, Jason Tatum, Jarris Walker, Jalen Johnson, Tamani Kamara. He can probably play a little bit of 3-4 right away, has already gotten stronger over the past year, wouldn't rule out ability to guard 4 positions to the next level, eventually maybe 5. Shot form smooth as hell, took a decent volume of threes. Over half his shots came from beyond the arc, so he'll do very well in the 3-and-D archetype as Toronto grows his overall game. 5.3 defensive box plus minus is an insane metric. Think Ryan Dunn territory, except way younger than Ryan Dunn. Really takes pride on that end of the floor, has great hands, good timing, good positional versatility. Can definitely float in and out of games for large stretches like many young players. Struggles at times to create his own offense from a standstill in the half court. Also, I think sometimes that was spacing issues and just overall rhythm. Runs the floor like a gazelle, very legit 6'8", massive human being. Measured out 6'6.5", unfortunately, but maybe he was having a bit of a short day. I've watched him a lot. He seems huge on the court, so I was shocked to see him 6'6.5" with barefoot. He might be closer to 6'7". We'll see. Big basketball dreams. has a post pinned on his profile proclaiming he's going to be the best player in the world. He came off the bench for most of the season. He started 5 games. I think he went double digits 5 games, but was efficient in his minutes. So he had nearly 60% true shooting, 37% from 3, solid numbers, and he took a high volume of 3s. I think he took 3 per game. He's a real NBA player. He'll give you, he'll have a 10+ year career. He can play a role right away and probably give you 10 to 15 minutes off, like of solid, relatively error-free basketball. He wasn't turnover prone, but the potential very much remains in the all-star tier. I'm impressed, very impressed. Also, random fact, here's a list of players born on November 26th. Ha, ha, ha. You know, George Peterson, Mario Ellie. Yeah. So these are all the players born on my birthday, and Carter Bryant is one of them. Leonard Miller, Canadian kid, also born on my birthday. So those are the people born on my birthday. Anyways, long story short, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say Carter's awesome. And I'm gonna be honest, I really could see, like, if I'm evaluating him versus, you know, we were like, there was a post by No Ceilings, which was saying, like, rank these players in terms of like how good they are right now. And I think I'm pretty sure it was Carter and who was it? Carter, Fleming, and Clifford, you know, rank them. And I said right now it's Rashier Fleming, Nick Clifford, then Carter Bryant. But I said as prospects, like, not that's right now, but as prospects in 2 years, I would say Bryant versus the field. Like, I would take him over both. I might actually just say he might take off in a way that he'd be worth more than both of them together. So I don't know. You know, this is I said that we would look at a little bit of film of him. So here's a little bit of what makes him special. I know I've shown this before, but this is a little clip that I put together for him. It's all from the same game. So, or actually it's not from the same game. Sorry. You know, you see the timing on that shot block. It's pretty impressive, man. The fluidity, how many times he's able to go straight up vertically. It's just nuts. He has a lot of twitch to his game. Look at the fluid. Like how do you even block this shot? Insane. Right. And again, the presence of mind, you know, sometimes people get too caught up on like assist percentages, assists, whatever. I look at how well you read the court. I love that he said that thing about, you know, teams asking him to draw up plays and stuff. I really need to understand how well do you see the game, because when you start getting into the weeds of X's and O's conversation, you really understand who is actually paying attention in those practices, in those walkthroughs. There's a certain amount of accumulated knowledge that you should pick up by this point of professional basketball. I've always said that 2 people can look at an identical situation and one person can absorb 20 times as much. That's what being smart comes down to. His 3.8 GPA may not necessarily be an indicator of extremely high intelligence, but I'll tell you right now, from every interview I've seen of this kid going back to when he was 15 years old, this kid is really smart. And this play right here, on the move, in transition, snap decision in a second, this is reading the court. Him getting behind the play here is a moment of reading the court. The defense lost him. Why? Because he did an about turn in transition to get behind them. Understanding that pass would be there. If you can read the passing lane, then you can throw the pass. I've always believed that. So again, he talks about speeding up his release. I don't love his shot base right now, but if it goes in, it goes in, and it went in a lot. But I do love his release. It's extremely high. Look at where his release is. Who's bothering this at the next level? Nobody. It's fast, it's consistent, and it goes in. And he's huge. So again, like the concerns of the Emmanuel Quickly, like look at that. If you squint your eyes hard enough, that is Jason Tatum 100%, except, you know, like maybe Jason Tatum goes through a lot of ebbs and flows with this jumper, but even that play right there shows you timing, shows you hand-eye coordination, and this play right here shows you explosiveness. I've heard a lot of people say he's not an explosive athlete. His head is fucking at the rim, bro. He has a 39.5-inch vert, and it's functional athleticism. This is not like a test athleticism and it doesn't show up. No, his athleticism shows up and pops off the page every time I watch him play. Now, look, when I say positionally versatile, this is a 5. Okay, this is a 5 who thinks he has a mismatch. You do not have a mismatch. Okay, you do not have a mismatch in this position. You think you have a mismatch, and that mismatch is going to go right away. 7-foot wingspan, using every inch of it, and then look at the hand. You expose the ball to a player like this, it's gone. Watch what he does. Gone. Right? And it's fast. It's fast, and it's timely, and and he waits. He's patient, you know? The Dyson Daniels Tamani Kamaris it is. But understanding this play right here is what's going to make him successful. Look at the paint. It's completely cramped. What's the advantage here for the offense? There's no advantage. Cooper Flagg and Kaman Malawach have completely shut down this play. But here, you're going to have Carter, and he's going to outthink Cooper on this play because, well, I mean, that's a little bit disingenuous to say he's going to outthink Cooper Flagg, but he has a center who's willing to set a pick, and I believe that's Con Knipple. The footage is a little bit grainy here. I apologize. And Cooper is going to get caught ball watching a little bit, and he's going to lose his man, who was Carter on this play. And Carter, realizing that he's doing nothing but getting in the way right now, and that Cooper and Kaman have this covered, is going to actually do what Jaylen Brown didn't do on that Jason Tatum play we broke down, and he's going to relocate to the corner. What's that going to do? Well, Cooper identifies right now that he's lost his man. You can see him pointing to Sion James like, shit, shooter. And boom, there's the shot. Now, what I say about the high release and the quick release, that's Cooper Flagg. He isn't touching this. This is a wide open shot. And this is over a defender that is 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan. That shot didn't count, but it counts for the highlights, bro. So I say all of this to say I think Carter's fantastic. Funny enough, I have a suspicion that he's going to go higher than 9. And all of this will have been for naught. But nevertheless, he's going to be a really interesting player. And if he goes top 9, that means someone else that you really like fell to you. I have my concerns about a lot of prospects in this draft. I have my concerns about Con Knipple. I have my concerns about Trey Johnson. I have my concerns about Kaman Malawach. I certainly have a million concerns about Derek Queen after watching him, test in his athletic rating. So, Chosen saying 5 to 14 range. I think that's very comfortable. I would be very surprised if he goes higher than 6. I'd be very shocked if he falls out of the lottery. And y'all listen to him. Everyone's going to listen to him. The word is going to travel very quickly. This is a smart kid, super athletic, super versatile. Now, smart kid, super athletic, super versatile. What's the floor? The floor is honestly Shane Battier. I haven't heard that name thrown out in relation to Carter Bryant, but a more athletic Shane Battier is probably like the floor of what you're looking at. That's a hell of a player. That's a really good player. Shane Battier was a top 7 pick, right? I'll reiterate again, what you need next to Scotty Barnes. Now, I feel like I've gone completely the other way with a lot of people. Some people think you need shot creation. You need a shot creator. You need your Rob Dillingham. You need your Jeremiah Fears. You need someone with a little bit of wiggle in their game who can get below the defender, below that little line, and break people down off the dribble. Cool. Here's the thing. I historically have always overvalued off-ball wings. I think off-ball wings are what win you championships. That's especially off-ball wings who have connective playmaking tendencies. Think Andre Iguodala. I think maybe he is not the passer that Andre Iguodala was, but Andre Iguodala, Danny Granger, there's a lot of players that maybe aren't superstars, but this kid has a lot of that in his game. Will it translate? Again, as I said, his floor is extremely high. Extremely high. There are some other players with extremely high floors, and I'd like to talk about them very briefly before we get out of here. We're over the 2-hour mark, right? I think Con Knipple has a pretty decent floor. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I think Con is going to be a pro at the NBA level. His shot is very fast. He is, extremely good in the connective playmaking department himself. I think he has a great stroke. I think he's probably the best shooter in this draft. So I think he has a pretty high floor. I like how VJ Edgecombe measured. I'm not sure if he's bust proof, but certainly doesn't feel like a bust to me. really good intel on who he is as a kid and how hard he works and all that stuff. You usually don't choose Baylor unless you want to work really, really hard. And yeah, I think VJ can be a really fantastic pro. There are definitely going to be some busts in the high lottery. I can't tell you exactly who they're going to be right now. It could be Dylan Harper. It could be Kaman. It could be Derek Queen. It could be Trey Johnson. There's a lot. I will tell you, though, since I had that conversation with the first scout that we talked to, I really have gotten a lot higher on Trey Johnson. I just think with Trey, I'm curious to see what your shot making looks like at the next level when teams start scheming for you and you don't have the ball as much. I think, again, with Trey, like the offensive output is so much better than a lot of these other players. Like the gap between Carter Bryant right now and Trey Johnson as a shot maker, it's like night and day, man. Like we're talking levels and levels and levels. Carter's gonna have to work really, really hard over the next few years to get anywhere close to Trey Johnson's shot level, shot creation ability, like off the dribble, right? Or he might have to work for one summer. We don't know. We'll see how fast he progresses. But the gap here is athleticism, right? Is Trey Johnson twitchy enough to get a shot off at the next level? I suspect he probably figures to be more of a role player. I think Kasparas Yakuchonis probably is a role player. I think a lot of these players feel like role players to me. They don't feel like stars. They don't, right? Sheridan Forbes said, "Hey, Rob, just wondering why this morning you DM me like 20 pictures of Yegor Demon and Derek McQueen. Who the hell is a Derek McQueen shirtless? Doesn't seem like it has much to do with draft analysis." First of all, I did not DM you. So if someone DM'd you, it was not me. And that means I've been hacked. And if you're being a troll right now, then you deserve to go to fucking hell. Now, worth noting, the actual Sheridan Forbes is a really, really good dude who I don't think in a million years would ever write something like this. So you, my friend, are an impersonator. And you get banned for that. But if you're not an impersonator, if you are in fact the real Sheridan Forbes, the I don't know, the spreader of positivity in our chats, and the real Sheridan Forbes, I don't know why Sheridan always gets fucking impersonated. Reach out to me via email. I'll unblock you and I'll apologize to you. If you actually got a DM like that from me, bro, I've been hacked and I need to know about it. So please email me. Okay. I don't fucking, come on, man. Fuck out of here. So, I mean, that was pretty tame. I appreciate you not making it even worse than that. I mean, that was pretty tame. Cool shirtless pictures. Love is love. Anyways, I'm sorry. Derek McQueen got me laughing, bro. Like it's like Derek McQueen. Like how much more Dairy Queen you want to make him? You know, like pause, bro. Okay. Anyways, all that being said, Noah Senge has, I want to say, like pretty high bust potential, right? Haven't studied him enough yet. We'll look more. Last stream, Real Sheridan was asking you to ban him. So there was like an impersonator in the last one. WYSO said Trey had the best combine out of everyone from what I heard. He has been rocking it in these drills, but Trey Johnson is designed to rock it in these drills. He's a lights out shooter. Steele said, thoughts on Danny Wolf? Really mixed thoughts defensively on Danny. Really mixed thoughts on his off-ball stuff because I've watched him in a more off-ball role. I also watched him sort of operate like he's mini Nikola Jokic, and yeah, he looked a lot better in that Nikola Jokic role, but I don't know a team in this league that's going to hand him the basketball and hand him like 30% usage. So I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about I don't know how I feel about Danny Wolf other than to say that he is a remarkably skilled player who moves very well for someone who's 7 feet, man. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, right? He has a lot of unicorn tendencies at that size. I'm not putting him in unicorn talks like Victor Wembanyama and Kristaps Porzingis is a very different type of unicorn. He genuinely moves like a guard, man. He gets shifty, he gets low, he has a little bit of wiggle in his game. He's 7 feet tall. He moves like he's 6'7". So, yeah. Sunny K saying, quick thoughts on Yaxel Landenberg. I don't have any deep thoughts on Yaxel yet. I actually was waiting for him to commit before I did his film study. I don't know if he's going to stay in this draft, just from what I've heard. I don't know, right? So, young light-skinned saying, for real, I've never seen a 7-footer dribble like that. Andrew saying, did anyone really surprise you at the combine? Did someone surprise me? Jace Richardson measured out way lower than I was expecting. I really genuinely thought he was 6'3". I've seen him standing next to his brother and his father. Kind of makes me question his father's measurements now, or it makes me question like if he was wearing lifts or something, because being 6 feet barefoot is like way worse than I ever imagined. VJ, measuring out a little bit taller. That was surprising. Derek Queen or Derek McQueen or Dairy Queen at this point being 18% body fat was a little bit disappointing, actually. Look, I've already heard for years that Derek Queen has, weight issues, that he has sometimes trouble keeping the weight off. I think this drastically impacts his motor on the defensive end. If you're talking straight talent, Derek Queen is like a top 5 pick. He is so insanely talented. But talent without discipline is not something that I'm signing up for with a top 10 pick. That's where I'm at. Prospects show up as the best version of themselves at the draft combine because every single person is trying to go as high as humanly possible. There's prospects who have anger issues, discipline issues. They mask every one of those issues at this combine. They say the right stuff, they do the right stuff, and that's why you got to be you got to have your bullshit radar detector like up here. You don't even try to fool them. You don't even come in the best shape of your life. You just come in 18% body fat and think you're going to be a lottery pick. That's fucking crazy, man. He has a flat set shot. I don't think it's going to be easy to get that shot off at the next level. He's slow, a little bit slow-footed. At this point, honestly, I know the shot that he hit, it makes a lot of people hype. I know some of the passes he threw make me amazed, right? But there's so many players that I have seen that are so talented go towards the top of the draft because of their high feel, high skill level, crazy athleticism, right? The highlights. Jan Vesely, highlights. I know a lot of people that know Jan Vesely. He played in Serbia. My sister knows Jan Vesely really well. So, there's so many players that just have this insane package of a 2-minute video clip that you can watch of them, and you're like, wow, that player looks exactly like Andrei Kirilenko, or that player looks exactly like Dirk Nowitzki. And it's it's not. That's not Dirk Nowitzki. So JJ1 said, yes, you are right. I did say that Kalel Ware had discipline issues, attitude issues, motor issues, that he floated in and out of games, and he looked really good for Miami. I admit that I'm wrong. I want to clarify. I did not earn that knowledge for myself. I was going based on what a lot of other people were saying, and then I saw some evidence to suggest it, so maybe I was overly suggestible, and I watched his tape honing in on that. I did not hear that Derek Queen had motor issues before I watched him play. I watched him play for a year I watched bits and pieces of his games at Montverde. I thought he had motor issues there, but it was a little bit better. And then I watched 7-8 games of his this year, and there's not a single game where I didn't feel he had motor issues. Watch him when he doesn't have the basketball. You got to watch it. Okay? The jump shot is not pretty. You are correct. I don't care if it goes in. It's not going in at the next level. He's got to reform that thing. The scoring package is interesting. The physicality is interesting. The talent is amazing. His feel and vision for the game, he is a genius. He is a basketball savant when it comes to his ability to read angles, his ability to see plays ahead of time, his overall wingspan. I think he measured in with like what 7'2", 7'1" wingspan. His overall feel and footwork, like his talent level is up here. I don't know where his discipline level is, and honestly, like I don't know Derek Queen. I've watched 7 interviews of his. I've watched 8 games at the NCAA level. I've watched 2-3 games in high school. I don't have like I can't. I'm not a Derek Queen expert. This is nowhere near the level of depth that I went in on Carter Bryant. But the issue with Derek Queen is it keeps sticking out at me. It keeps sticking out to me, and I don't know the Raptors to ever draft a player that has these issues, the specific issues. I don't think so. Six Up Puzzle saying, by the way, Rob, you said you soured on Come On. Why is that so? You don't want him if he drops to 9. I would have a really hard time passing on Come On anywhere after 6. I just want to be clear. I still think Come On's going to be a fantastic player. There's still like a 2% chance he becomes an all-star. There's still a 1% chance, or maybe less than a 1% chance that he becomes all-NBA. He has extremely high upside. I think my belief in him declines partially because of the numbers, partially because of the motor, partially because of the rawness. But it's worth noting, I think this kid has gone further in the last 2 years than almost anyone else in this draft. If you watch him 2 years ago and you watch him today, the work is obvious. He is obviously a hard worker. He obviously listens because, work without knowing what to do is crazy. He had a crazy situation overall. He was discovered in a refugee camp, went to NBA Africa Academy in Senegal, blew people away there. He was already, while being a little bit younger than Ulrich, already a much better player than Ulrich. Like 2 years ago, he was better than Ulrich. That shows his capacity for growth. He's a very smart kid. I have no idea if you can tell it from the interviews, or I haven't listened to his most recent interview, but he is a very smart kid, very humble. But he has a lot of development to do in terms of learning the game. He has not learned the game well. He is nowhere near Carter Bryant, Con Knipple, guys like this in terms of understanding plays, angles, all these things. I have no idea if that stuff is ever going to come for him. He may always be a low field player. I have no idea, right? So, again, his block rate, which is to say, it's very low. I don't know why that bothers me. His defense was amazing, but there's a lot of great things in Duke's defense apart from him. There's Cooper, who immediately is a massive floor raiser. Cooper relative to the field, in terms of Cooper relative to competition, you don't have a defender that dominant. I'm sorry. Scottie Pippen, prime Scottie Pippen ain't walking through the door unless Carter Bryant becomes that player. So, Scottie's a really good defender. Cooper is a really good defender. They make a lot of people look a little bit better than they are. But at that point, I have to wonder why you didn't get more shot blocks. Is it just a low motor? Is it a scheme thing where you don't want to get blocks? You just want to be deterrent? He was an extremely strong deterrent. So my question is, okay, you're 7'7" wingspan and you're 7'2" size and height. Okay, here's my question for you. Find me a 7'2" center with a 7'7" wingspan who isn't a strong rim deterrent at the college level. They all, because you're not dealing with NBA athletes. You're not dealing with NBA speed. Everything about Come On that worries me is the thing that's going to get exposed at the next level. It's the speed at which he processes the game. He's not fast. He doesn't see it quickly. Like when he comes down with the basketball, how quickly does he register that there's a player who's beat his man up the dribble? Like how quickly does he make that calculation? And then how quickly does he throw the pass? He doesn't. He waits. It's even with like the offensive thing, right? Like everything is very simplified for him. Everything is simplified for him. He sets a screen, he rolls, he's this huge player, and he finishes at the rim and he dunks it. There's a version of this that really does not mature into anything close to some of the people saying Joel Embiid. Come on, man. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't know what's closer. Come on to Joel or this shit. Wolf is going to be the next Dirk. I don't know about that. Maybe. Who knows? I don't want to rule it out. I certainly didn't see Dirk being that good. I guess what I'm saying is there's a world in which Kaman really struggles. There's a world in which he's a backup big permanently. There's a world in which he never, ever, the game never slows down for him. There's also a world in which all of the skill work and all development and all the size and, you know, an NBA coaching staff and NBA conditioning and the game catches up and he speeds up and his reads quicken and the playmaking comes, you know, and again, like you can't teach 7'2" with 7'7" wingspan. You can't teach that. That's fucking, those measurables are insane. And, you know, in the past few drafts, whether it be Donovan Clingan, whether it be Zach Edey, whether it be Victor Wembanyama, whether it be Kalel Ware, or, you know, Kalel Ware is about 7'1", whether it be Walker Kessler, I mean, all these jumbo centers have done pretty well. Okay, so my question is, what if he does become Kalel Ware? But he's not going to be Kalel Ware. Sorry, not Kalel Ware. Walker Kessler. He's not going to be Walker Kessler because Walker Kessler blocked like 4 times more shots than him per minute at the collegiate level. So it ain't going to be Walker Kessler. Okay, is there a chance that you could miraculously become like a way, way, way better shot blocker at the next level? My question is, who the hell has ever done that? Most dominant shot blockers, like go check Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, Chet Holmgren. All these guys blocked a lot of shots at the collegiate level. They block less shots at the NBA level. That's how it usually works. So again, like my question is, with the defenders that you had around you, because I think Khan is decent, Cooper is great, Sion and Tyrese are definitely an above average backcourt defensively. You were the anchor of one of like the best 4-man combinations that you could imagine at the collegiate level. And you also had a great backup, right? You have all of these things going for you. You're going up against collegiate kids. I could really sell myself on the idea that you probably didn't do enough. I could sell myself on the idea that Kalel Ware might have done more. I could sell myself on the idea that Hassan Whiteside might have done more, right? I'll give you that 100%. 100%. He is a lot more switchable than Walker Kessler. What does that mean? He's not Evan Mobley. So again, if he was Evan Mobley, he's the consensus number 2 pick in this draft, right? Evan Mobley, flexibility, switchability, he is immediately. But Evan Mobley was a much better ball handler at this stage. I think Evan Mobley had shown just as much shooting projection, but I think Kaman, I think, ends up as not Joel Embiid. It's really hard to come up with a comparison. No, not Hasheem Thabeet. Like, shut the hell up. Like, he's not Hasheem Thabeet. But I don't think he's anywhere close to Joel Embiid. That being said, Joel Embiid was nowhere close to Joel Embiid at Kansas. So who knows, man? Look, Kaman is a huge variable. There's a world in which he becomes an All-NBA All-Star, and, you know, I'll feel very, very happy to just wipe out the tape of me doubting him right now and just bring up all the year, the entire year of me hyping him to hell. But you asked me specifically, if I'm down on him, and I'm not down on him. I just have a lot more questions after watching him for the entire year than I did maybe 6 months ago, five months ago. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot from him. Specifically, Mo Bamba was a really dominant shot blocker. Jonathan Isaac was a dominant shot blocker. Every player you're thinking about was a dominant shot blocker. I think, you know who he might become? And this would be a crazy outcome. Brook Lopez. Maybe he could be Brook Lopez. Right? He is definitely not Serge Ibaka. I watched Serge Ibaka when he was 17, 18 years old. That dude blew me away. I was shocked that he didn't go lottery that year. Are you trying to create the worst team in NBA history? The way Ulrich and Rocco can run on a break, big problem. I mean, sure, in a video game. In reality, both players are exceedingly raw, and both players will probably be in the G League next year. Anyways, that's it for me. Got to go watch, very soon, going to go watch the OKC Thunder versus the Denver Nuggets. Yesterday, I ended the live by saying that my picks were Boston and Minnesota. Boston and Minnesota actually won. So that was pretty cool. I am very curious to see if my pick today, which is the OKC Thunder, will come true because I'm second guessing myself very, very hard right now. I thought this morning when I woke up, OKC is going to win. They're going to stomp them. Denver's not going to show up. Jokic is going to have nothing left in the tank. And then I realized Jamal Murray is 8-3 in elimination games, that Russell Westbrook played horribly, that Michael Porter played horribly, that they're at home. And now I'm like, you know what? I don't think Denver's just going to give this game. I think OKC is going to have to snatch it for them. And they are a young team. Closeouts on the road are the hardest. So you know what? I'm going to be honest. I don't have a pick today. I would love to tell you I think OKC is going to stomp them, and there's a world in which that can happen. There's also a world in which OKC totally lays a dud tonight, and they get stomped by 20. So, you know, AG, Michael Porter, Russell Westbrook, tonight's game is not going to be, in my opinion, the Jokic show. He has given everything like humanly possible in the last game, and he is exhausted, and he's playing defense, and he's actually been great overall this series. I'm also curious about what happens with the New York-Boston series. There's a part of me that feels like this whole thing falls apart for Boston in the Garden. There's also a part of me, weirdly enough, not to sit on the fence about everything, but I'm being genuinely honest when I say this. There's also a part of me that believes this series ain't over. Losing Jason Tatum does not make the Boston Celtics better, but it does make them different. That's the best way to put it. We talked about it on the panel today a lot. I was really upset that people were trying to insinuate that Jason Tatum is basically a bum because they won the game without him. But all I'll say is that they're a different team. And if Luke Cornett can play the way he's playing, and Derek White can keep hitting shots, and Peyton Pritchard can come off the bench and give him something, and Karl-Anthony Towns continues to be as passive and as ridiculous as he's been at times in this series, then yeah, New York has a chance to fumble this because it is they should be the better team. With Kristaps Porzingis out and Jason Tatum out, or Kristaps Porzingis playing like complete dog shit because of the the sickness, yeah, the Knicks should be the better team. But OG laid an egg yesterday. I don't believe that Jalen Brunson picking up those 5 fouls was really smart. I also believe the referees really, really helped Boston. And I don't know if they're going to have a home whistle. I think it's probably better for the league if New York goes to the finals or goes to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think New York's the healthier team. But also the Celtics are defending champs. We don't count out champions. Yeah. So Cat really sucked. It's kind of embarrassing because, you look at the Boston Celtics roster, and as good as some of those players are, look, we saw Cat bully the shit out of the Raptors. There really was nothing Jakob Poeltl could even do to stop this guy from getting like 2 feet into the paint every time. You watch Karl-Anthony Towns sometimes, and you feel like this guy could be the best player in the league. I'm not kidding. Like, he throws passes sometimes, you're like, damn. He'll grab rebounds, he'll make a big block, and then he'll score like 8 straight points, in the post, and then he'll stretch out and hit a 3, and you're like, bro, like, how the fuck do you not average 28 to 35 points per game? It's nuts. Like, it's crazy how good he is. And then he'll get like really physical with you, and he'll start like shoulder bumping you, and he'll put up a hook shot, and you're like, damn, this guy's an all-time great. And then you have a quarter where he takes 1 shot, and you're like, oh, that's why you are where you are. So that's kind of where I'm at. If the Knicks role players go crazy, I think the Knicks have to approach this like a game 7, man. I don't think they want to face the pressure. I always look at series as like, who's the pressure on? Who's the pressure on? Right now, the pressure is on OKC, and right now the pressure is on New York. If both teams crater under possession or under pressure, you'll get a game 7. That's kind of where I'm at, right? Cat just needs to be consistent. That's the story of his career. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great one. Enjoy your night and enjoy the playoffs.